Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
When a young woman named Desiree vanishes without a trace, the trail leads to Kat Torres, a charismatic influencer with millions of followers. But behind the glamorous posts and inspirational quotes, a sinister truth unravels. Binge all episodes of Don't Cross Cat early and ad-free on Wondery Plus.
When Luigi Mangione was arrested for allegedly shooting the CEO of United Healthcare, he didn't just spark outrage. He ignited a cultural firestorm. Is the system working, or is it time for a reckoning? I'm Jesse Weber. Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmie. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of Crime and Sports. We cannot wait. We are winding down the Evel Knievel series here down to what should be our last 3 parts. Going to make it a 10-part series, which is incredible. And it could have been 20, to be honest with you. It's just absolutely nuts. And Evel just keeps coming. He keeps coming. We're going to get more. We're going to get some crime. We're going to get Evel gets into boating, which is fun, obviously. Lots of good stuff here coming up. Before we get to that, though, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Get your tickets. Live shows for Small Town Murder are available right now. May the 18th, we will be in Chicago at the Riviera. Get your tickets right now. The day before in St. Louis is sold out. So if you want to come and you're in the Midwest, Chicago is the place to be. And get your tickets for the rest of the year, too, because they are selling fast. Also, get your tickets for the virtual live show. Just like a regular Small Town Murder live show, we got the screen and the pictures and the story and everything like that, except instead of you sitting in an audience in a theater, you are going to be wherever the hell you want to be on this earth that has internet. You can watch it in your living room, do whatever you want with it. We are going to have costumes on. It's our 420 virtual live show, and it's available for 2 weeks after the April 19th air date as well. You can buy it. You can watch it 100 times, do whatever you want with it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to make Jimmie smoke crazy amounts of weed out of weird apparatus. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to do it. Can't wait for you to see it. Shutupandgivememurder.com. Also, definitely you want Patreon. Patreon.com/crimeinsports is where you get all the bonus materials. Anybody $5 a month or above, you're going to get immediately upon subscription hundreds of back bonus episodes you've never heard before, and then new ones every other week. 1 Crime and Sports, 1 Small Town Murder, and damn it, you get all of it. That's right. This week, what we're going to do for Crime and Sports, I don't know how much this has to do with sports, really, but frat guys are sporty, you know. We're going to talk about fraternity hazing incidents. Oh, jeez. Which is going to be crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So fraternities do that for sport, so I guess it's sports. Then for Small Town Murder, we are going to talk about, because that Karen Reed trial is coming up. She is the woman in Boston who was accused of running over her police officer boyfriend. And she says it's a conspiracy. The retrial is coming up. We're going to go over everything leading up to this retrial. The whole thing. What are the conspiracy theories? What are her theories? Some of the text messages that went back and forth between the cops. It's incredible shit. We can't wait to talk about that. That is patreon.com/crimeinsports. And you get a shout out at the end of the show as well. Jimmie will fuck your name up good. Don't you worry about that. That said, let's do this.
Here we go.
Let's dive back into Evel here. Evel Knievel, we're going to start out in October of 1975. Where his 12-year-old son, Robbie Knievel, who will later be a daredevil on his own, has a little bit of problems legally in Montana. You go, how does a 12-year-old have legal problems? Well, he stole the family pickup truck and smoked weed in it.
Attaboy.
Yeah, so he got busted for it, though, by the cops at 12. Because they saw smoke pouring out of the windows, but nobody's head above the steering wheel. So they were like, what's happening? Also, he tried to jump something, probably, which also, I'm sure also, gives it away in a minute. So Evel had him, I don't know if he made a deal with the judge or something, had him sent to jail for 3 days. Jail.
At 12 years old.
At 12. He gave him his own Scared Straight program here, which didn't work, by the way. Never does with Robbie. So in October of 75, they're talking about him kind of making a return to jumping. Because at this point, basically, he's not jumping every weekend anymore. He's not doing any of that kind of shit. No, now he has a lot of business stuff coming in. People all over the world now are just sending in massive amounts of proposals to put his name on something, some product. So he just goes through them and tries to figure out what's a good product.
Which merch can I sell? Yeah.
Which merch do I want to put my name on, basically. Yeah. So that's his main job now, is just kind of hanging out. And every once in a while, he's got to go do a jump and, go keep his name out there. But he's also doing, they're doing celebrity roasts of him with Don Rickles and shit. Yeah, he plays in all the celebrity golf tournaments. So his job now is to be a celebrity, basically.
Unbelievable.
Which we had a real weird celebrity class in the 70s where it was a bunch of kind of over-the-hill. There was a lot of over-the-hill actors and musicians and shit that just their job then was just to be a celebrity.
Just hanging on.
Yeah.
Because the talent's tough to do anymore.
Yeah. So they just, it's all over. So now their job is to show up on Hollywood squares and shit like that and be a celebrity.
Yeah.
So they're talking a lot about this jump. And the other thing is they're talking about the wide world of sports. They're winding down this kind of, their thing with him pretty soon here. And, ABC he'll be done with. Here's from the book. Kings Island had been open for only 3 years. Located 26 miles northeast of Cincinnati in Mason, Ohio, the park featured a 1/3 size replica of the Eiffel Tower and a set of fountains that matched the fountains at Caesar's Palace. Okay, so after the requisite trip to Butte and requisite unorthodox negotiations, Knievel handed $100 to the waitress in the cocktail lounge at the War Bonnet Hotel in Butte and told her to give it to a noisy man at a nearby table if he promised to just shut up for the next hour.
Here's $100, shut your mouth.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Which that reminds me of a story I heard about Vince McMahon being on a plane and being in first class but in the smoking section.
Yeah.
And a guy was chain smoking. And he kept offering the guy money to stop smoking.
Stop it. Yeah.
And he got up to $600 to stop smoking. And the guy was like, listen, I don't need your fucking money. I like cigarettes. Go fuck yourself. I paid for my seat and I'm going to fucking smoke all I want. So I don't know this guy
He never
here.
took it, huh?
He didn't take it. No, the guy, he got madder and madder. He started smoking more. Fuck you. So, and the guy's already in first class. He probably has a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Doesn't need your money.
Doing fine.
Yeah. So they said that after all of this, the deal was done. The announcement of the jump was made in the closing minutes of an ABC special, Portrait of a Daredevil. So Knievel came into town 2 weeks before the jump. His approach here was entirely different from his approach in London or at the Snake River, or for that matter, any place else. He was all business. For the first time in his career, possibly the first time in his life, he brought caution into his operation.
Oh.
The jump over 14 greyhounds scared him. He resembled a normal, everyday human being considering this jump. Holy shit, this was a long way. Yeah, it's fucking long. There was a reason for this caution. He decided this would be the final long jump of his career, the final attempt for any kind of record. The possible consequences for this one last time suddenly were frightening. He didn't want fate to nab him on the way out the door.
Right.
Yeah, now he's got money and all the celebrities. I don't want to be in a fucking wheelchair.
He's got something to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, I got places to go. I got a party to go to at Frank Sinatra's house. This is crazy. He said a guy told Cincinnati Magazine, I'm convinced that he was serious about this being his last jump. He was just too cautious, too nervous. About half the time in his practice jumps, he was coming down on his front wheel instead of the back. Practice jumps. That's how serious this was. He didn't like being banged up anymore, a friend said. He really loved golf more than anything. It killed him when he was banged up and he couldn't play.
Yeah, that would probably hurt a little bit. That's a tough game to play if your body isn't doing it.
Oh, yeah. If you have a broken arm, you can't golf. That doesn't work. Your back's all fucked up.
Yeah.
The crowd was a disappointment for this, though. Attendance for this final record jump was 25,000. Now, a number that was diminished by the fact that 20,000 of the people had simply paid $4 more than the basic $8 fee to enter the park and ride the rides. So basically, they got in for $4 to this.
Yeah. Right.
So management had hoped for a much larger turnout. This area was set up to hold 70,000 people. So it's like at a fair, a county fair or whatever. But the day was lousy, dark and cold, intermittent rain, and the jump was shown live on Wide World of Sports. On the morning of the jump, Knievel had practiced again, something he never did. He cleared 10 buses this time, fine-tuning. Even as he took the microphone to talk to the crowd, moments before the actual jump, he was still tuning. He asked the Kings Island crew to remove the extra length of plywood ramp they installed going out onto the street through the hole where the guardrail was removed. With the threat of rain gone, he said, I think it would be safer without the plywood. He promised to make the best and safest jump of my life, and away he went. 1 pass, 2 passes, 3 passes, thumbs up. He came down the adjusted ramp over the elevated ramp. This part adjusted to half the height of the buses because it sat on flatbed trailers. Then the final ramp and into the sky. For half a second, it looked as if he might flip backward. The front end of his this time was too high, an obvious overcompensation for the crash in London when the front wheel landed first. The balance of the motorcycle was out of whack. Backward seemed to be the easier direction to travel, ass over nearest tea kettle. Then he brought the front end down, but not too much. The motorcycle landed on the back wheel in the middle of the safety plywood that had been extended onto the roof of the 14th bus. The front wheel landed perfect. 52% of all televisions in America were tuned to Wide World of Sports when he did this jump. 52% of the you can't, like nowadays when we say old TV ratings, it's unfathomable if you're like a younger person because now a big rating is, nothing. The highest rated show on TV, like a sitcom or an hour-long drama right now, would have been canceled immediately if they had those ratings in the 70s. Immediately. Yeah. Like, we're talking, 30, 40, 50 million people would watch the same fucking thing back then. Wow. 52% of the people of the televisions, an estimated 55 million people watch this. There's I think less than 200 million people in the country at this point. Wow. So think about that. How, a quarter of the country
watched it live.
Yep, in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. This isn't even like, Tuesday night at 8 o'clock and gather around.
Saturdays, people have shit to do.
They got shit to do. They have Little League games and stuff. Yeah. So this would ultimately be the highest rated show, 22.3, in Wide World's 45-year history from 61 to 2006. So, he does all of that, but the business side of it isn't very good. That's the problem. So that's the issue. Now, there was some problem with a television network. I guess there was a television stations, a few of them that were welcomed all week to interview Knievel, show the buses in the jump area, and, do whatever promotional news story they wanted. But the day before the jump, they were all told they weren't going to be allowed to film the jump, because it's on ABC. Yeah. So one, WCPO TV, which had filmed a practice jump, was threatened with a lawsuit if they used the film. And Knievel defended this decision by offering to let them or their network buy the rights to his next jump. You can pay for it, but I'm not giving you shit for free, which is totally fine.
Yeah, that's business.
Yeah. So anyway, he's looking for every buck he can. We'll say that much anyway.
Smart.
So that's kind of what he's doing right now. After this Kings Island jump, he said he then announced his retirement again.
Okay. Retirement 2.
Yeah. Evil Boogaloo. This time, though, he again doesn't listen to that. It just sounds good at the end of a jump, and I'm sure he never wanted to do it again.
I mean, you probably you look at your bank account and you go, "All right, I don't have to do this again," but I may have to do this again, depending on
keep me in there. Now for the rest of time, though, he'll never do these giant 12 buses or 14 buses. He's not doing that shit again. From now on, it's shorter jumps, easy ones he knows he can nail. Yeah. And it's basically you're there just to see Evil do something. You don't care if it's a record or if he dies. You just want to see him drive around on his motorcycle. January 5th, 1976, there's another article here like we had in one of the other episodes from the Southern Illinoisian. newspaper. Children who follow Daredevil's feats often wind up with serious injuries. Again, there's a couple of stories here. Here is one. Evel Knievel's jump over 14 buses ended successfully, but Jerry Larson's bus jump over 5 empty trash cans didn't. After watching Knievel's attempt to jump 14 Greyhound buses, Jerry Larson, 8, took his high-rise handlebar bicycle out to an empty lot and tried jumping over 5 empty garbage cans. Knievel landed on the 14th bus but made it down off the ramp without injury. Jerry fell off his bike, breaking his arm and badly bruising the left side of his body. The doctor, who attended to him in the emergency room, said sometimes we see kids come in with broken arms, legs, separated shoulders, shattered jaws, crushed ribs, all from playing Evel Knievel. The kids see him jump, and then they try the same thing on their bikes. But what the kids don't see are the hours of practice measuring and the failures before Evel jumps. Really, there's no way to prevent these accidents as long as Knievel is glorified. So Representative John Murphy of New York wrote the Federal Communications Commission asking them to stop ABC's coverage of the Knievel jump. And then also wrote directly to Knievel asking him to use his influence to soften the television promotion of his recent jump. Obviously, that's not going to happen. No. Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? Not at all. One of the people here said, I don't think there's anything wrong with a kid wanting to be Evel Knievel any more than he'd want to be O.J. Simpson or any other kind of professional. I would have to agree. I would agree with that.
Wow.
There's nothing more wrong.
No idea.
No,
what he was saying.
There's nothing any more wrong with wanting to be evil than wanting to be O.J. Simpson. I agree with that. Same guy. Evil didn't kill anybody, but he's a dick. O.J.'s a nice guy, but he might murder you. So it's it balances out. This guy said, I'm not saying that he should not go out and jump or riding a motorcycle without proper supervision. I'm in a different position. As far as jumping cars, I'm a professional life risker, Knievel said, and there are very few professional life riskers in the world. However, there's a lot of kids that identify with me just riding motorcycles and not jumping. I don't advise kids or anybody else to jump cars, motorcycles, buses, or canyons. It takes a lot of experience, and you have to pay the price for success. Yeah, something like that. So
breaking arms and shit?
Yeah. Well, they're talking about this is like a big push. Every 10 years or so, there's a big push to take, unpleasant shit off TV. Yeah. For the kids and all that shit, So the Association for Children's Television, headquartered in Boston, fought a long battle with ABC TV to take David Carradine's Kung Fu off the air. Wow. Not because it was terrible either.
That's the least of his most offensive things.
That's what I mean. Dude, we have OJ, Carradine. This article has no idea how funny it's going to be in 40 years. It just doesn't. It couldn't possibly know how funny it's going to be in the future. You're right.
We shouldn't have David. He's not a role model for kids.
No, not if we want them to breathe. So the guy from the network here said, children were coming into hospitals with broken feet and shattered hands and cracked elbows after trying to break bricks and boards and do other stunts they had seen on the show. Our kids too...
Belt wrapped around their neck.
Yeah. We found them hanging in closets, blue in the face, sticks in their hands.
In fishnets.
Holy shit. The situation in Thailand also... I think that's where he was, right? Somewhere like that.
So, yeah. He's out of the country.
Some sex country, though, Thailand, somewhere that you go to pay for weird sex things. Yeah. That's what I thought.
I'm pretty sure he was in tights and had a belt. It wasn't probably the worst way to be found.
Yeah. It would have been even better if he had his Kung Fu outfit on. That would have been fucking hilarious. That would have been very funny.
I'd rather be found with a needle hanging out of my arm than in that fashion.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. I'd rather be found like Kurt Cobain with my brain splattered on the wall behind me and a needle in my arm than fucking this. This is horrible. Because that at least looks like you meant to do it. This motherfucker, you go, oh, this guy tried to come and he died. That's horrible. This was all about coming.
He can come is by nearly dying, and he died. Shit.
No shit. So they said the situation with Kung Fu had become so bad, the medical journals had named it the Kung Fu syndrome. So we have an evil syndrome and a Kung Fu syndrome. act was successful in getting Kung Fu off the air. Also, it got canceled because the ratings were low. That's what it was. Get it off the air.
Had nothing to do with the show. If the show was great and watched, it would still be on.
It would be on now. This year, ACT is continuing to monitor television programs and rate them in terms of violence and age group acceptability. We haven't come out with our good and bad list yet, but when we do, we hope that parents will write the networks and try to get the programs off the air. Or they could just tell their kids not to watch it. This wasn't like now where the kids can watch it on their phone and all that.
Yeah.
There was one TV in the house. Yep. You can turn it to whatever fucking channel you want and say, you're not watching Kung Fu, you idiot. You broke your fucking hand last week. Done. Yeah. Be a parent.
Stop watching Kung Fu and Evel Knievel. You've got a broken leg and you got a boxer's fracture.
Yeah, and then your kid didn't see Evel Knievel, but some other kid saw it, and now he's going to try to jump something, which makes your kid want to try to jump it. You can't... You have to teach your kids not to be morons. Yeah. That's all you can do, and then hope for the best. So they're talking about a letter or an article here in the Fort Lauderdale News on February 26, 1976, where it says Evel Knievel has legal hurdle to jump. Apparently, an attorney representing him appeared at City Hall to accept an assault and battery warrant for his client.
Really?
Yes, according to Police Chief Edward Turner. Turner said the warrant was sworn out by William Kretschmeyer, 31 of 4250 Galt Ocean Mile, as a result of an early Tuesday morning scuffle at the Rooftop, a supper club at 3101 North Federal Highway. Kretschmar last night said that Evel can expect a civil suit in excess of $250,000 to accompany the assault and battery charges. He said, I signed all of the papers on the civil suit today at my attorney's office. I expect that Evel Knievel will be served with the papers soon. So, according to police, Knievel and Kretschmeyer were involved in a fight in the restaurant at 2:49 a.m. That's when Evel's fighting. Yeah. That's when I can't wait till we do the multi-part Billy Martin episode.
Yeah.
Because they basically say that, like, they called him like Cinderella because they were like, at midnight, he turns into a fucking monster, though, not a pumpkin, a fucking monster. Like, if it's midnight, Billy's he's in the sauce too deep and you just want to avoid him because he'll throw a punch at you for no reason, shit like that. I think Evel's in the same boat.
I saw his ring is up for sale, $30,000.
Billy?
Yeah.
Billy Martin's, I know. It's so fucking cool. I love fucking Billy Martin was crazy. I'm not buying a $30,000 ring. That's fucking crazy. It's a new car, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
I'm buying that.
There are people that do it.
Although that wouldn't go down in value, whereas a car would.
No,
so it's probably would be a good investment.
Gems and gold, man.
Yeah, I guess it's fucking Billy Martin, dude. He's crazy.
It's a piece of history, right? Yeah.
So they said, this was while Evel was reportedly signing autographs. The quote is, witnesses told us that Evel was signing autographs when this man, Kretschmar, kept harassing him about buying him a drink. The witnesses said Evel walked away from the man, but later pushed him when he persisted, said Turner. Apparently this man lost his balance after being pushed and struck his head on a table.
Oh.
That guy, though, Kretschmar, disputes this version. He said he was walking by Knievel's table when someone hit him. He said, I didn't say a word to the man, Knievel, and he had no intention of doing so. I couldn't believe how hard he hit me. Those rings he wears might as well have been brass knuckles. I received 6 stitches in the nose and 2 in the head from the single blow. Police said Evel was very congenial to everyone when police arrived at the scene. Kretschmar contends that Evel was not even in the building when police arrived. So that's even bullshit PR. He said Knievel came to Broward to participate in the Jackie Gleason Pro Celebrity Golf Tournament.
Pro-Am, yeah.
And he could not be reached for comment. Oh. He also is doing a lot with motorcycle helmet safety.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. He's constantly encouraging all the kids to wear helmets. You got to wear a helmet, kid. He says it everywhere.
Got to be getting a kickback on helmets then.
I think he's trying to sell a helmet, probably. Yeah. I guess the Bell Star helmet he used at the Caesars Palace jump is credited for having saved his life after he struck his head on the ground.
I mean, any helmet he wore should be credited with that.
That's what I mean.
He's crashed so many times.
Knievel once offered a cash reward for anyone witnessed him. Remember the kid tried to fucking get that. In 87, later on, he'll end up supporting a mandatory helmet bill in the state of California as well. So, he said that he was the best walking commercial for a helmet law.
Yeah.
So another article here about Evel Knievel syndrome and kids getting hurt. And there's just all these doctors fucking talking about they suffered skin lacerations, broken bones, loss of permanent teeth.
Yeah.
Serious injuries. Like, it's a whole thing. And it's so funny because I have to show you this article because I have the newspaper screenshot. Evel Knievel syndrome causes kids to get hurt. Yeah. And you see all this. We feel that television programmers have acted somewhat carelessly. Look at what is right into it, right next to it.
It's skin deep. Give blood.
Give blood to the American Red Cross. Give blood for injured children. So they now say, there's an article that's headlined, Riggs plans to take Evel for $100,000. Okay. So they say that the world's #1 male chauvinist pig has a Mother's Day promotion up his sleeve. And after that, the happy hustler plans to take Evel Knievel for $100,000. Oh. Okay. So apparently Riggs here, Bobby Riggs, revealed his plans Wednesday night over a glass of beer as he prepared for his role as keynote speaker at the Great Men of Sports dinner. Later, an all-male audience of more than 600, largest since the Kiwanis Club began the Great Men series 13 years ago, very exciting, heard Riggs excitedly describe in detail his 2 world-famous tennis matches with Margaret Court and Billie Jean King. There's a great tennis player named Margaret Court. That's awesome.
Real C-O-U? Like the...
C-O-R... Yeah, C-O-U-R-T. Court.
Wow.
That is cool as fuck, man.
Yeah.
That is like a ball player named Hoop. That's dope.
I mean, we got Justin Fields.
Yeah, Field, I guess. Yeah. But Court, and that's just good. These matches enabled Riggs to introduce mixed-sex tennis to the world and turn him into an instant millionaire. He claims to have made $1.5 million since the 73 series through endorsements, tennis and golf promotions, and the banquet trail. And in all this time, he's carefully nursed his reputation as a male chauvinist. Yeah. He says, Evel wants to bet me $100,000 that I can't ride a bicycle all the way from New York to California.
Why would you want to bet that?
That's a long way.
That happens all the time.
People. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Forrest Gump did it, for fuck's sake, on foot.
He ran it, but
on foot's harder.
People do it on bicycles fucking all the time.
On a bike, you can sit and fucking cruise for a while. You don't even have to pedal for a bit.
Yeah, it's downhill.
Yeah, he said, I'm going. He's giving me 2 months to do it. I figure I can do it in 6 weeks. That'll give me a couple weeks leeway in case anything happens, like an accident. Interesting here. So I guess that wouldn't be the first time he's hustled Knievel. He claims to have beaten Knievel out of $25,000 by riding a motorcycle from Las Vegas to Twin Falls, Idaho. Evel bet him he couldn't, I think, because he didn't ride motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
He's like, for $25,000, I'll figure it the fuck out.
Is there an automatic?
I'll just keep it off and walk it there. Well, we'll do it that way for $25,000 back then.
Dude, 6 weeks, James. That's like 100 miles a day, isn't it? 500 miles a week, about.
Because it's like a 3,000-mile trip.
Yeah.
So
that's
3,000 miles.
Man.
Yeah, that's a ride, dude. You got to really cruise. Here is a cool ad in the Memphis Press Scimitar newspaper from May 28, 76. Central Hardware has the deluxe AMF Evel Knievel model motocross bike.
It's a bicycle.
20-inch sport bike. It has like Evel Knievel #1 and EK on the seat. I've seen these all over the place on the internet.
Yeah.
Like people have,
Jesus.
Yeah, you're going to land. Your balls are going to hurt otherwise. It's $74, and that
still
is
no suspension on that fucking thing. That's still a rigid ass frame.
Regular $90. It's called the most exciting bike ever.
What?
I don't know.
What the fuck does it do?
But if the kids weren't encouraged to jump their bikes anyway,
yeah.
Now you're giving them this, and they're like, well, this is made for it. Evel said this is
shit. Yeah.
This is jump rated here. Yeah. They even said it's built with many extra safety features. Simulated rear shocks. That's not real rear shocks. That's simulated.
Yeah.
It looks like shocks.
In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant starts firing at him.
And the suspect,
he has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione,
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was meant to sow terror.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.
You know those creepy stories that give you goosebumps? The ones that make you really question what's real? Well, what if I told you that some of the strangest, darkest, and most mysterious stories are not found in haunted houses or abandoned forests, but instead in hospital rooms and doctors' offices? Hi, I'm Mr. Ballin, the host of Mr. Ballin's Medical Mysteries, and each week on my podcast, you can expect to hear stories about bizarre illnesses no one can explain, miraculous recoveries that shouldn't have happened, and cases so baffling they stumped even the best doctors. So if you crave totally true and thoroughly twisted horror stories and mysteries, Mr. Ballin's Medical Mysteries should be your new go-to weekly show. Listen to Mr. Ballin's Medical Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
There is also the AMF Evel Knievel 10 plus 10. It's a 10-speed bicycle. Has nothing to do with Evel Knievel.
It's bad.
At least a regular 20-inch, you can kind of feel like a motorcycle. That's why people put cards in the spokes and all that kind of shit.
But the other thing about a 20-inch, James, is that it has one fucking speed. You can only go so fast. On a 10-speed, you can fucking move that thing.
But on a 10-speed, you never feel like Evel Knievel. You never feel cool. You feel like a college girl or something. You know what I mean? That's like who rides a 10-speed. What is that?
Shifting gears.
And then there's the AMF Evel Knievel hot seat. It's a little three-wheeler here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's not like a Hot Wheels type deal. It's not like a big wheel. It's like got a real wheel.
Oh, it's like a fucking chopper.
Yeah, it looks cool as shit. It's got pedals.
Badass. It's got raked out front
That looks awesome. I would have loved to have that when I was a kid.
Tires.
Damn. And then
that's a cool trike.
We were a few years too late for this, Jimmy. Yeah. If we were born,
find one of those
8, 9, 10 years earlier, we could have had that.
That thing's probably $5,000 now.
There's a lot of them out there too, though.
Yeah,
but I'm sure a lot of them got wrecked or destroyed. I don't know about the hot seats. The regular bike. Seat. There's a lot. Yeah, I want that too. That's dope as shit. We need to put that in the studio.
Yeah.
So we need to do. Make that in the middle. I'll move the couch.
Kristen Knievel, that's Robbie's daughter. I'm going to see if she has a hot seat.
You got a hot seat for us?
I'm also going to see if the hot seat is for sale online right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. We'll look at it after the show.
Okay. All right.
We'll look for hot seats. We'll go shopping when we're done here. June 11th, 1976, by the way, here. We have, this is very strange. There's an ad below an Evel Knievel article for China House Restaurant. It says specializing in Canadian and Chinese food.
What's Canadian food?
Poutine?
Is it Canadian Chinese food? Is it Chinese food made in Canada?
Maple flavored.
Makes a big, that's a big deal.
Not Canadian Chinese food, Canadian and Chinese food. So maple flavored lo mein. I don't know what they have, but I'm scared. So, okay, here we go. This is around 1976. Here's a crazy fucking story about Evel Knievel and the level of ego and insanity and out of control. I'm having whatever I want right now. Action. Here's from the book. Okay. The night was still alive, even if the bars in Fort Lauderdale were not. The famous daredevil and a longtime friend from Butte, Ron Phillips, had met two women, and the famous daredevil said they should move the party to his lavish hotel lodgings at the Bahia Mar Beach Resort.
Right.
Sounds great. This was a fine idea, except the hotel thought the daredevil had checked out. Some other well-heeled visitor now occupied the lavish lodgings. No rooms were available at all, not even for Evel.
Oh.
So his reaction to the news was a surprise. There was no reaction. He didn't get angry at all. The famous daredevil, Mr. Knievel, simply suggested, everyone follow me. Okay, there was a backup plan. He had been thinking he might buy a boat, you see, and the Bahia Mar Beach Resort was planted next to the Intercoastal Waterway, and boats were docked along the marina. Big boats, yachts, and one of them surely would be for sale because boats were always for sale, Evel said. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, by the way.
We're going to buy a boat right now.
Right now. Sure enough, the search party of 2 men and 2 women found a yacht that had a for sale sign on the side. Mm-hmm. They said Knievel knocked on the door or the hatch or whatever it was called. The time roughly was 3 o'clock in the morning. The owner of the yacht appeared after a long stretch of knocks. He was not happy, obviously.
He was asleep on his boat. Yeah.
I want to buy your boat, Evel said. How much do you want for it? Okay. Now, this is a big thing, so the sleepy-eyed owner named a price. I'll buy it, the daredevil said. I'll take it for that price. He said, I won't argue about the price. I'll pay you just what you want with one condition. What do you think that condition is, Jimmy?
Get off of it now.
The fuck off the boat right now.
Leave.
Yep. He said, I'll give you a check and you get off the boat right now. This guy's got his wife and kids in there, by the way.
Oh.
He's not just out on a fishing
asleep.
This is a family trip he's doing.
Holy shit.
So the guy said, okay. And the deal was done. Just like that, the owner took the check, woke up his family. They gathered their belongings and left like they were refugees fleeing from an invasion. The Daredevil and Ron Phillips and the two women settled in for the night. The next morning, Phillips said, Bob decided we should take it out for our first boat ride. This was complicated by the fact that the boat that he purchased was an 87-foot Broward yacht.
It's a giant boat.
It's a fucking huge boat. You can't just take, it's not a fishing boat you can just take out without a license.
That's a house.
Yeah, you need like a captain's license for this shit. So only a licensed captain would be able to operate a yacht this size. That's what I said. The Daredevil found a captain at the marina, and the party went out for a pleasant day on the high seas. On the way back, a problem developed. The captain steered the boat to one side in the waterway and stopped to make room for another boat coming in the oncoming direction, opposite direction. The Daredevil was not pleased. Just keep going, the hell with them. Now, the captain explains the number one rule on the water is bigger boat, right of way, period.
Yep,
bigger boat has the right of way. Doesn't matter what the fuck anything else is. So they were explaining that to him, and he was like, well, that's bullshit. This is garbage here. What do I do here?
87-foot boat. There's bigger ones.
So he said the next move was inevitable. The Daredevil went on to the boat market in the succeeding days. He discovered the availability of a feed ship, which was 116 feet long. That's crazy. Feed ships, built by First Export Association of Dutch Shipbuilders, have been sold over the years to people like Henry Ford and Malcolm Forbes and, captains of industry and people like that. This was one of the biggest yachts in the world at the time. Now they have 200 whatever foot ones. Now they're crazy. The Daredevil, of course, wanted the feed ship. On the day the deal was supposed to be completed, papers signed, cash exchanged. Skip Von Leeuwen, one of the long-ago motorcycle racers at Ascot, a short-term member of the Hollywood Motorcycle Daredevils, was Knievel's guest in Fort Lauderdale. The Daredevil had given him a stateroom on the 87-foot boat, the Broward. A painted wooden sign with Van Leeuwen's name was even hung in the stateroom door, just a sure sign of nautical stature. The two men went together to pick up the new boat, a truly big boat. Van Leeuwen's head was spinning. Some papers had to be signed, but Bob has to give this guy, the salesman, a $635,000 check.
Oh, my God.
Huge money. Bob writes the check. This was a Saturday. The salesman says the bank wasn't open, so he couldn't take the check, and the deal would have to be put off till Monday. What did he expect him to come up with? Fucking a trunk full of cash?
Yeah.
Why did you make the appointment to do it on a Saturday? What other form of payment could you possibly have expected from this guy? Fucking pennies? What do you want? So he said the Daredevil did not like this. He steamed and stewed and took out his car keys. He hung them in front of the boat salesman's face. These are the keys to my Bentley, which is worth $165,000.
Okay.
You hold on to the keys until Monday. If the check doesn't go through, you keep the car.
Oh.
How's that? So the boat salesman said, all right, took the keys, and Evel said, quote, now get the fuck off my boat.
Huh?
He would call the feed ship the Evil Eye 1, and the 87-foot Broward also would become the Evil Eye 1.
What?
He's like George Foreman. He names all his boat the same thing. He said...
Even Tony Soprano went with two.
Yeah, the Stugatz too, yeah. And in rapid order, an array of service boats would be added, and an eventual Evel Knievel armada of 13 Evil Eye 1s.
You can't do that.
That's so many boats,
The reason
too.
they give them names is so they can identify the fucking vessel if it's
They're all mine.
Aground.
Don't worry about it.
They're mine. Just
don't sweat
get
it.
it back.
Finding a place to put this many boats became a problem.
Right.
Yeah. So he bought a house.
Now.
Yeah, now you have you have a battalion of boats. You literally, most of the countries in the world don't have 13 boats in their Navy. Like there's 195 countries. There's probably 150 of them that don't have 13 boats in their whole Navy, I bet. So I can't imagine, there's plenty of these places. They can't have boats. Sri Lanka can't have a Navy.
Pretty pissed off at you, Evel.
So, yeah, no shit. So he found a place at 2824 Northeast 28th Street in Fort Lauderdale on the Intercoastal Waterway with 300 feet of docking space.
300 feet of
waterfront
shoreline?
docking
Wow.
space. Yeah. He not only was a boat owner, he was one of the biggest boat owners in the United States.
Yeah.
Linda would come down to Florida for a week, 2 weeks, mostly without the kids. She and her husband would go down the Intercoastal in the feed ship, dock for a week in Miami, then she would go back to Butte. He never went to Butte much these days, but when he did, he went to his personal bank vault. Okay.
What?
The vault was inside. Dude, this is crazy. If you wrote a movie about this guy, you wouldn't believe it. That's the thing.
13 boats.
It's ridiculous.
You're not going back home because you're going to be working on boats all day.
No, he's not doing shit.
No.
That's the thing. So it's inside an office building he commissioned next to the Met Tavern here across from the Civic Center. The building was substantial, a real office building with a real office where his secretary, Meg Meager, handled real business. The vault was also substantial, looked very much like one of those places Knievel would have robbed in the old days. The door to the vault had gold lettering that read Evel Knievel National Bank, savings, absolutely no loans. Money was piled randomly on the floor.
What?
He would tell his visitors they were looking at over $1 million. He sometimes would bring people into the vault so everybody could throw money into the air and sit underneath the shower of cash.
That's pretty cool.
He said there were a lot of $1 bills in the vault.
I'll bet.
Yeah. He said, I tell people there are no withdrawals, no interest. All they get is a wish of good luck from me. This personality business was a full-time job. Only once was there real talk about actual investments, and even that didn't last long. His friend said, we went to New Orleans. There was a guy who owned 33 racetracks. He wanted Evel to be involved in some housing complex with him. Evel brought in Leslie Nielsen. Yes, that Leslie Nielsen,
Really?
the actor, yes, who had just, was about to do Airplane and be considered hilarious after being a serious actor. Yeah. We played golf every day for a week. Leslie Nielsen was my partner. Evel played with the guy who owned the 33 racetracks. I don't know how it all came out. I think maybe the guy had something to do with the mob. Yes, in New Orleans, owning 33 racetracks? Yeah. Not probably. Abso-fucking-lutely. Guaranteed. So he's driving one of the boats, a friend said. There's a restaurant on the Intercoastal. This has nothing to do with this other part. This is a separate thing. Where the owner had pissed him off for some reason. Doesn't take much. There are all these signs near the restaurant that this is a no-wake zone. There are tables and chairs, people eating right on the dock. Jesus. This is lunchtime. Evel guns it. Yeah. The water comes up like a tsunami. It's a fucking giant boat. This is crazy. Knocks over tables and chairs. Dinners go flying. Everyone gets wet. He just keeps on going. Probably with his finger up.
Yeah.
So here's a story from the book. Dee Robinson, 33-year-old college senior at the University of Maryland. Yeah. She was in the military for a while, so got to college late. For her final year, there was a partnership program with the Art Institute in Fort Lauderdale to study interior design in Florida. So she read a story in a newspaper about an upcoming comedy roast of Evel Knievel at a Fort Lauderdale disco. Yeah. So she thought Evel was pretty cool because she always rode Harleys with her dad and still rides a motorcycle as her main form of transportation. So she's like, he's pretty neat. So she wanted to see him. So she was supposed to study for a test the next day, but she went instead to this event. She said, fuck it, it's Evel. So it was really packed and she was in the back and couldn't see anything. So a bartender let her stand on the bar so she could see.
Yeah.
So the thing is, halfway through all this proceedings here, a guy comes up to her and said he's Mr. Knievel's bodyguard and that Mr. Knievel had spotted her back here and would like to invite her to a party in the back of his yacht after the roast.
The thing about you standing on that bar is that he can see you really well.
You stand out. And, he looked at you like shopping. So
yeah,
he said, if you want to, I will drive you to the yacht, afterwards. So she said to herself, I have a test in the morning, but it's Evel Knievel. It's a chance to meet Evel and see his yacht. What are the odds? I got to do that. So it's the 116-footer here that they're on. The feed ship, yeah. The night was amazing, they say. Maybe 12 people had come from the roast, and Knievel gave them a tour, and then everybody hung around the deck and had drinks and hors d'oeuvres. Robinson, single by herself, stayed in the background until the bodyguard came up again and said that Evel would like to talk to her in the pilot house.
If you'd leave your shirt here.
Well, yeah, this is not going where you think it's going, by the way.
No?
No, that's the weird part. The meeting went fine, better than fine. Knievel was locked into his charming gear. Robinson slipped into the same gear. Somewhere in the conversation, Evel asked her what she did for a living. Not wanting to admit she was still a college student because her education was delayed by the time in the military, she said just skipped a step and said she was an interior designer, because that's what she's going to be next year. So Knievel was delighted. He started asking her questions about design and her career path. She just made shit up. Finally,
need the whole thing.
She was like, yeah, and then you walk down this hallway and my office is there. So he finally whips out his special Evel Knievel gold check book thing and says, here, I want to hire you as a designer. I want you to start working on my yacht. And he handed her a check. She stared at the amount. It's a $10,000 down payment, he said, on her design. She's like, holy
yeah, on her
what
work.
The fuck? Yeah, she's like, this is crazy. So Knievel only had two demands for the renovation. Both involved the sleeping quarters. Yeah. The first was the bed had to be at least 7 feet wide, large enough that he could comfortably fit between 3 women on each side.
That's not big enough.
It's not big enough at all. No. Like 10 feet at least. Well, I guess if they're crammed in. The second was that a secret compartment had to be built somewhere close to the bed. Okay. So she said, what will you put in the secret compartment?
Yeah,
not wanting to be nosy. Yeah. Exactly, just for designing.
Yeah.
He said, I'll need room for a half gallon of wild turkey. Okay. And for Bruno.
Who's Bruno?
She said, who the fuck is Bruno? And he said, my 357 Magnum. Obviously.
Oh, my God.
I keep my booze next to my whiskey, don't you? Isn't that where everyone keeps it?
I like to be fucked up handling guns.
That's what you want. Yeah, you want those next to each other so when you're good and drunk, you have it near you to really play with and fire off. So she went back to the Art Institute and did shitty on the test, but told her teachers that I just got $10,000 to do this shit. And they were all like, that's crazy. And she said, I can hire a bunch of you guys, the teachers.
Yeah.
So she said, let me slide on some shit and I'll hire you guys, basically. So they were like,
give me
okay.
an A and we'll get this job done.
Cool. So he took her all over. He introduced her to people as my interior designer.
Yeah.
She fit 2 queen mattresses into the sleeping quarters for his fucking orgy bed.
Decent, yeah.
She created a secret place for Bruno and the turkey. Yeah. She had all the carpets ripped out, replaced with patterns that included the initials EK in them all over the place. Yeah. She added a life-size steel statue of Knievel on a motorcycle, a helicopter landing pad for special occasions. Got to have that. I mean, I put that immediately when I moved into my house. I was like, well, I mean, Jimmie comes over and he's going to have to chop her in, you know. You did the same for me, obviously. Yeah. We got to chop her in. So, because you never know, she's spending tons of money.
Wow.
She put it this way, and this is a very interesting way to put it. He was like the dog from Aesop's Fables, the one who sees his reflection in the water while he's crossing the bridge. The dog's carrying a bone in his mouth. When he sees the reflection, what he thinks is another dog with another bone, a bigger bone, he becomes jealous and begins to bark. His bone slips out of his mouth and goes into the water. Instead of 2 bones, he has no bone at all. That was Evel in his boats, she said. He was always chasing the next thing that looked even bigger and better, chasing the illusion just because he could.
Losing his boat?
No, just fucking going around. She said one day he came aboard the yacht with a cypress clock that he'd been given at some dinner. He liked the clock and wanted to hang it. He said, where do you think it should go? She said, I don't know. Everything is kind of clogged up here. We don't really have a space for it. It doesn't really fit in with the design. He said, I'll make it fit. He just got a hammer and some nails and nailed the clock into the ceiling of the sleeping quarters there.
I want to look at it when I'm laying down.
He said, there, people will see it now.
Yeah.
She said, yep, that's certainly they
there
will.
It is.
So she said, anyway, by the time I was finished, I had graduated from college and was in business for myself. I was an interior decorator for yachts. I'd gotten other jobs from that job.
Wow.
Because he shows that shit to everybody, and if they like it, they're like, oh, well, let me get your card. And that's how it works. So 1976, July 8th, 1976, they said, here's an article that says, he talks bigger than Muhammad Ali. He wears more jewelry than Liberace. At 38, he's the king of the daredevils. He said, kids look up to me more than anyone else in the world. Sure, they respect Ali, but not everybody wants to be a fighter. They all want to jump motorcycles and cars.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
All of them.
All of them? I'd rather get punched in the face. I'm not going to fall from the sky, at least. That's better.
At least only one bone gets broken in the face.
Yeah. That's much, I guess maybe because I've been in fights but never jumped a motorcycle. Maybe that's why I'm like, well, getting punched in the face isn't that bad. But
well, the thing is, he doesn't jump bikes that are supposed to be jumped. I wouldn't want to jump that.
No, it's fucking crazy. He said, I tell people I'm Evel Knievel, but I'm not necessarily evil. I want to do good with my life. Mostly I want to reach kids and tell them the dangers of narcotics. Oh. That's the biggest crusade of my life. Mm-hmm. I say I would do this picture, because now we're talking about a movie, right, only if I were allowed to include the speech that I give at every place I appear. I tell the kids that race car drivers at Indianapolis sometimes put nitro in their engines to give them an extra push, but it only lasts 4 or 5 laps, and then it ruins the cars. Right. The same thing with narcotics. Maybe it'll give you a lift for 4 or 5 years, but then the body's ruined. I want to get that message across. He said, Easy Rider was an important picture for motorcycling, but it blew the narcotic stuff. It probably had more to do with the popular Zing dope than anything in recent years. Oh, popularizing dope. There's a newspaper. It's hard to see. I was like, Zing dope? What is that, Coke? What are we talking about? Whether fighting dope or promoting Evel Knievel, he is a zealot, the article says. He's scornful of all of his film biography that starred George Hamilton, arguing that with sound logic that no one but himself could adequately portray himself. Sure. I got to play me. So he's doing it these days in Southern California on locations of his movie Viva Knievel. Uh-huh. Holy shit. It's made, by the way, by the same people who made The Towering Inferno, that 70s movie with OJ in it. So they're producing it for Warner Brothers. Evel himself wrote the original story about dope smuggling, and he is surrounded by an impressive cast. Gene Kelly, Red Buttons, Marjo Gortner. Lauren Hutton is in this. Uh-huh. It's Marjo in this article.
Really?
This is Marjoe. Marjo.
Whoa.
Yeah. Lauren Hutton, who is a big, with the gap in her teeth.
Of shit. Yeah.
One day, the company was shooting in the San Fernando Valley's exclusive Lakeside Country Club, where Knievel recently joined. Already he seems to know all the members. Red Buttons, playing the inevitable sidekick, told how Knievel enlightened the filming. Knievel interrupted shooting one day to insist everyone celebrate in his style by taking slugs from his bourbon bottle.
Everybody take shots this wild turkey. Let's go.
So like the crew people and the director reluctantly agreed. Teetotaler Buttons refused. Knievel would not continue until Buttons drank. He doesn't
You're
drink.
Ruin your sobriety today, Buttons.
He's like an old man at this point, too, Red Buttons.
I've got a problem. That's why I stopped.
Fuck, man. You have no idea what happens when I do this. I burned down a whole town one time, dude.
This
it's
is
bad.
Gonna kill me.
My Christ. The comedian finally swallowed a full bourbon bottle to the horror of the filmmakers. He staggered around the set until the plot was revealed. The second bottle was filled with tea. It was a joke that he was doing with people, yeah. When the company broke for lunch, the assistant director told Knievel he had 45 minutes for lunch. Knievel replied, quote, "Look, Sonny." His name isn't Sonny, by the way. He's just calling him Sonny. Yeah. "Look, Sonny, I've been risking my life for 10 years, and I spent 3 of those years in the hospital. Nobody's going to tell me I got 45 minutes for lunch." And he just leaves.
15.
I'll be back when I'm back, essentially. So, he says there's an article talking about this movie, talking about he can't stand waiting around.
Yeah.
Most of acting is waiting.
Sure.
They shoot you for a few minutes, then you go sit somewhere while they reset everything, which takes an hour and a half, and they do all this shit. In a big Hollywood movie, it takes even more because there's even more shit, and they have stand-ins, they have all this different shit.
Go back to your trailer, learn the rest of your lines.
It's fucking boring. Like, you really got to like doing drugs in a trailer to do this. Like, it's the only way. So, so he does all of that, but he says that making movies is at least easier than jumping. Sure. And he says he's a natural actor as well, too.
Okay.
He's just a natural actor. And Lauren Hutton, the director says, Evel hits the screen like John Wayne, bigger than life. He comes at you like this, and he makes a cannonball gesture. So I've seen this movie, by the way, and we'll talk about it. Oh, my God. Absolutely. It's on Tubi. It's free. The Riff Tracks version of it, at least, is on Tubi. Yeah. So you can listen while Mike Nelson and them make fun of it, which is the way to watch it, for sure. For sure. So I guess he said at one point, the second day of shooting, his first line was, "I'm tired. I've been up all night." He delivered the line about 8:30 a.m. Then he confessed, "I really was. Those actors can fake that stuff. I stayed up until 6 a.m. drinking tequila. That's my method acting."
Yeah.
I'm really drunk and hungover.
I'm being me.
Yeah. So he said it's a movie that the whole family can see, really. That's what he's saying, too, because there's a kid in it who... There's drugs. It's so weird. Okay. Yeah. The best way to explain this fucking movie, he's preparing for some jump. Some jump, whatever. It looks like a little, like a round track Coliseum type place. He's got a big jump coming up now. And the opening scene is him busting into an orphanage, by the way, at 2:00 in the morning.
Rescuing children.
Waking all the kids up while the nuns are like, "Wait, what are you doing, Evil? No, you can't be doing that." And he's like, no, these kids want to see me. Waking up, rousting all the kids and giving them Evel Knievel toys. So he's even... The opening scene is like, look, I got to show my toys and give a speech about how drugs are bad. And that's what he does. And then the rest of the movie is his assistant. I don't know if it's Red Buttons or a different guy because I can't remember. But this guy has a son that he never has seen, apparently.
Oh. And
the kid just gets dropped off with him at the motorcycle racetrack. And it's like, now he's yours. So the kid doesn't know his dad. He doesn't know anything. And he's just sitting around this racetrack. And so Evel takes him under his wing, of course, and teaches him that his dad's a good guy. But, things happen. And it's the fucking wildest plot. At one point, people are trying to sabotage his jump, so they bust into his trailer and knock him over the head and steal his motorcycle. It's fucking wild, dude. It's such a terrible movie.
It's Six Pack. Remember that movie?
Yeah, that's exact. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad.
Six Pack, just with one kid at a time.
One kid. So Evel says, "If I had to do this for a living, I couldn't make it more than once every 2 or 3 years. I can't stand all this waiting around. I'm a man of action."
Right.
And by the way, he's not a good actor.
No,
he's not a good actor, and he's playing himself.
Yeah.
So now he's being sued here. This is a big deal. He's being sued for $1.1 million in September of '76 by a cameraman who claims he was assaulted him with a cane.
Oh, that seems to be his thing too.
That all checks out.
Yeah.
He said Knievel shoved a heavy television camera into his face and struck the upper part of his body with a cane. This was we described this incident at the Snake River. It's just catching up to him 2 years later now.
Oh, boy.
So next up, he's going to jump in Worcester in Massachusetts. Yeah. So he's going to do that. Here's from the book about the October 11th, 1976 jump. He finally jumped again in Worcester, Massachusetts, of all places, on October 11th. It was almost a year after the Kings Island jump, and it was only his third jump in the last 2 years since Snake River. He also signed on for 2 jumps at the end of the month at the King Dome in Seattle. All of these events fit inside his new pulled-back, cautious schedule. Oh. He was scheduled to jump 13 U-Hauls in Worcester, 10 Greyhound buses per night in Seattle. His younger son, Robbie, now 14, would make his jumping debut in Worcester.
Oh.
This is the beginning of it for him. From the beginning, Robbie was the one who had wanted the daredevil life, the one who had that gene that made him challenge anything or anyone in his path, the one that makes you steal trucks and smoke weed when you're 12. That gene.
Yeah, the stupid gene.
Yeah, the gene his father had, it goes on to say. Exactly. They had rubbed against each other from the start. That sounds gross. Father and son. Ew.
Rubbing together, collided, essentially because they were the same headstrong, obstinate character. The people in Butte who saw Robbie cutting up mainly said, quote, that's just what he deserves about Evel. Yep, he deserves a kid who does this, just like him. Robbie had been on stage before at both the Toronto and Kings Island doing wheelies, but this would be his first jump over anything. The hurdle of choice was 4 of those U-Haul trucks. That's still a pretty goddamn good jump. I wouldn't do that. That's not an easy jump.
No. His father had talked for years about how he didn't want his sons to follow in his career path, but now he didn't seem to mind. Now, also, the other son, Kelly, who's 16, decided he didn't want to do any of that anymore, and he concentrates on the business side of shit.
Kelly Knievel.
Kelly Knievel. At this time, this was Evel's negotiation tactics, by the way. The promoters would come in with their contracts drawn up by lawyers. Evel would let them talk, explain everything, go over the contract. Then he would turn his copy of the contract over, and he would list 1, 2, 3. And he would write upfront, percentage, guarantee. He said, that's my contract. Let's start with number 1. That would be in cash right now.
Yeah.
In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant pulls out a weapon and starts firing at him.
We're talking about the CEO of the biggest private health insurance corporation in the world.
And the suspect,
He has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione.
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was targeted, premeditated, and meant to sow terror.
I'm Jesse Weber, host of Luigi, produced by Law and Crime and Twist. This is more than a true crime investigation. We explore a uniquely American moment that could change the country forever.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Finally, maybe this would lead rich and powerful people to acknowledge the barbaric nature of our healthcare system.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant pulls out a weapon and starts firing at him.
We're talking about the CEO of the biggest private health insurance corporation in the world.
And the suspect,
He has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione.
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was targeted, premeditated, and meant to sow terror.
I'm Jesse Weber, host of Luigi, produced by Law and Crime and Twist. This is more than a true crime investigation. We explore a uniquely American moment that could change the country forever.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Finally, maybe this would lead rich and powerful people to acknowledge the barbaric nature of our healthcare system.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. In the early hours of December 4th, 2024, CEO Brian Thompson stepped out onto the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
This assailant starts firing at him.
And the suspect,
He has been identified as Luigi Nicholas Mangione.
became one of the most divisive figures in modern criminal history.
It was meant to sow terror.
He's awoken the people to a true issue.
Listen to Law and Crime's Luigi exclusively on Wondery Plus. You can join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.
That's 1, 2, and 3. The rest of the shit I don't care about.
We'll get
How much
one
am I
out of the
getting
way
paid?
because if that number doesn't match, I'm leaving anyway.
Yeah, that's all it is. So the Worcester contract and Worcester show were weird from the beginning, they said. The promoter, Abe Ford, this is amazing, by the way, was an old-time wrestling guy from Boston. So you know he's full of shit. An old-time wrestling promoter, the biggest scammers in the world. After he was talking about putting on a show in Foxborough at Schaefer Stadium where the Patriots played at the time.
Yeah.
That stadium that seated 60,000 people. It would be a big-time event, but the deal with the stadium fell apart.
Oh.
So Abe Ford convinced Knievel to go to Fitton Field, which was where Holy Cross played college football. It had an old-time wooden grandstand that seated about 20,000 people.
Sure.
So it became a less big-time event at that point. Still a lot of people, but Ford said he had to stage some kind of show somewhere to recoup the money that he had put into the potential Foxborough show. Knievel agrees. He's supposed to jump 13 U-Haul trucks on Saturday, but the show was rained out and postponed to a Monday afternoon, but it was Columbus Day. So the weather was fine on Monday, but the new Knievel brought out his new worries. The invincibility definitely was gone. He looked at the football field, a diagonal path set up to give him the most speed going into the jump, and he looked at the 13 U-Haul trucks, and he pulled 3 of them out of the line.
Uh-huh.
Before, he'd just be like, well, fuck it, I got to do it. Now he's like, I'm not crashing. Get that out of there.
Safe. Yeah.
The 95-foot jump became a 75-foot jump. He mentioned the rainy weather and not enough room to get up to speed, even with the diagonal, as his reasons. Even then, he did a series of practice jumps, 2 jumps over 4 trucks, 3 more over 7 trucks before he successfully jumped the 10 trucks. Robbie did land the Ford truck one, by the way. The crowd was only 9,000 people. And the receipts at the end had disappeared. Abe Ford and the other promoters had also disappeared. They Evel got scammed for once. Who could possibly scam Evel? Wrestling people. Those are the only people. And if he had like a stand-up comedy show, that guy could have ran away with his money. The only other people who could be more insidious than Evel would be comedy or wrestling promoters. One of the two. Holy shit. So since the show was in the afternoon, Evel had time to go to Boston to search for Abe Ford.
Did he find him?
He's going to hunt him. He said he screwed him out of $20,000 to $30,000, and you don't screw Evel out of $20,000 to $30,000. Luckily for Ford and probably for Evel, the search was fruitless. Obviously, his friend said he had that second cane, the one that was really just a lead pipe disguised as a cane, and he was not afraid to use it. He'd broken some promoter's leg with it once. So October 22nd, 1976, there's a big ad here for an Evel Knievel King Radio Evel Knievel wheelie contest.
Oh.
They're searching the greater Seattle area for a wheelie champion. So, yeah.
To ride against Evel?
No, just to see how far you can go.
Okay.
The prizes are an Evel Knievel AMF bicycle to 3 qualifiers, Evel Knievel Ideal toys, so you could try to almost break your neck, and we'll give you a $4 toy. Tickets to the Evel Knievel Spectacular and Evel posters as well. So there you go. Yeah. And he's also the Sky Cycle from the Snake River. It's touring malls without him, just making him money.
Just wandering it around.
Yep, it's just touring. That's it. And then also, this is very funny. There's an article or an ad under it that says, "Life is for the living. I can teach you the social dances easily. Call Pam." And there's
What's
Pam.
She look like?
There she is. Hi.
You are Pam.
I'm Pam.
She looks like she knows.
I can teach you. That's it. That's the whole article or the whole ad. October 28th, 76 here. Evel goes to Seattle to do his bullshit there. And, tickets are $8 and $6. Yeah. This will not be on television here. Wide World of Sports announced last Saturday while profiling the famous motorcycle stuntman that his jumps in Seattle would be nationally televised as part of the show. However, contract agreements between the promoters of the event and the Kingdome and ABC Network apparently all got fucked up. They said there's no current plans to allow the Evel Knievel portion of Wide World of Sports to be televised at a later date in Seattle. Oh, it's a blackout situation.
Oh.
They're not playing it there.
People. Yeah.
There's a blackout so they can sell more tickets. So he jumps on October 30th at the Kingdome. He only jumped 7 buses when he said he was going to jump 10.
Yeah.
But the crowd didn't give a shit. They don't know. It looked hard to them, probably. They were happy to see him.
They can't do it.
But he still apologized to the crowd that he only did that. So it says, as showbiz, Evel's a flop. That's a headline in the Daily Herald here. Yeah. The Evel Knievel Thrill Spectacular unfolded Friday night in the Kingdome without killing anyone, but that's not to say the show itself wasn't in mortal danger from the beginning. A crowd generously estimated at 15,675 and about 45,000 empty seats watched the Knievel debacle here, apparently. So that's not good, obviously. And then they said also he pulled the fucking buses out. Mm-hmm. He said he apologized and said, "I didn't really do it right. Even I make mistakes." So he announced his retirement, obviously, again.
Number 3.
And, So in 1975, he paid $165,000 in federal income taxes. Last week, he was notified he owes $370,000 more.
Oh?
Yeah, I didn't think Evel was paying his taxes properly.
Can't possibly.
And it costs a lot of money for Evel Knievel to maintain himself in the matter to which he is accustomed, with his stable of Ferraris and Cadillacs, a yacht, a jet, diamond rings big enough to make your eyes pop. Right. Prior to the evening's climax, the audience watched about 2 hours of stunt work by lesser-known daredevils. That included a group who took new 1977 cars over ramps to make them balance on 2 wheels while traveling the length of the stadium floor. Yep. A little 2-wheel dilly there. There's also a couple of crashes of old cars into other old cars. Perhaps the most exciting event of the night was performed by a young man from Kettle Falls, Washington, named Terry Bronner, who rode a snowmobile over 5 Honda cars parked side by side.
Wow.
He cleared the cars with room to spare, but then it almost seemed as if he had forgotten to think of a way to stop after the jump. He bailed off his machine a moment before it slammed into one of Knievel's parked vans in a crash that could have easily taken his head off. Also, Robbie Knievel performed some wheelies and then made jumps over 5 parked Hondas. So that's how that went. So they say, here's the King Dome from the book. He looked at the 10 buses in the King Dome, looked at the ramp, and pulled 3 of the buses out of the line. He jumped 7 both days, the second day live on Wide World of Sports, except not in Seattle, as we found out. His shoulder hurt after the second jump, and he went to the hospital where he was released with no more than a shoulder strain. Now he's getting paranoid. See what I mean? Yeah. Oh, my hurt?
Yeah.
The performance turned out to be his final jump on Wide World. He'd been a part of 17 of the show's telecasts in 10 years. Wow. He was as seen as an ABC attraction as much as Fonzie or Barney Miller or Robert Blake as Beretta. Yeah, no shit. He had helped bring
17 episodes.
That's huge. He helped bring the network back to life. Yeah, ABC was dying when he came, when they got him. That's why one of the reasons why they said, let's show him, because maybe that'll help. They said the network had given him life. It had been the great arrangement. He had ABC president Roone Arledge's private phone number and would use it all the time. He would have an argument about sports with somebody, pre-Google.
Yeah.
And he would just say, I'll call Roone Arledge. He'll know. I'll call the president of ABC Sports. He'll know.
Executives.
He'll know at 3. Yeah, exactly. 3:00 in the morning. So they said that basically ABC executives pretty much agreed that the jumps were over. He said, I think there was an overall feeling that it was done. What else was there to do?
Yes. Eventually things like that run their course, especially when it's like, I don't know, man, how many of these can you jump? And you're pulling them now. You were going bigger. Now you're going smaller.
Exactly. It's time. It's time. Yeah. So, yeah. He talks all about how he's trying to, I guess he wants to gift kids a bunch of toys, but they're his toys. So, he said, I was crazy about those, talked about Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy dolls that he got when he was 6. And he said, I was crazy about those 2 dolls, played with them for a long time. Like most little boys, I got a lot of trucks and cars for Christmas, never really felt deprived. I really got everything I wanted, except when I was 10 years old, I really wanted a new Black Phantom bicycle. It did not work out, though. Besides, the new bicycles that bear my name look a lot better than the Black Phantom. So, yeah, he said it's a good thing there were no Evel Knievel toys when I was a kid, or I would have gone nuts trying to get them. So he's just doing articles advertising his shit. And then they talked about him spending money, and he says, money is for spending. If God had wanted you to save it, he would have put handles on it so you could carry it around like a suitcase. All right. Yeah. Interesting here.
God didn't, what? He didn't make that.
Didn't put a handle on money. Yeah, exactly. It's Evil's analogies are all fucked up, man.
Very precarious.
Very precarious. So they're talking all about his movie that's coming out and everything. Okay, now we'll talk about this show because it's crazy. Apparently CBS picked up on him. CBS was like, we'll take him. We'll put his shit on TV. So the show was called Evel Knievel's Death Defiers. And the date of the broadcast was supposed to be January 31st, 1977, a Monday night, just after Monday Night Football's over. Yeah. Another sports show. It makes sense, from 8:30 to 10 o'clock on the East Coast. It was his first jump on primetime television. All those Wide World of Sports are 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
This is the real deal now, primetime. A number of daredevils were scheduled to perform their death-defying feats. Knievel would finish the night by attempting to jump over the world's largest indoor saltwater pool, which would be filled with man-eating killer sharks, according to a press release. Of course they would be. They're talking about how man-eating sharks had been the American demon of choice for the past 3 years since the book Jaws came out in 1974 and was a bestseller for like 2 straight years. So then the movie came out and all that shit. Obviously, Jaws was a big deal. Killer sharks were everywhere. It's all anybody was talking about.
Man-eating killer sharks.
Man-eating killer sharks. The Knievel jump was a heavy-handed attempt to carve out a slice of this public fascination. A commercial scheduled to run in the days preceding the telecast would paint a picture of the battle between the fearsome sharks and the familiar daredevil in his white leathers. The announcer would describe Knievel's leap and the trouble that lurked below and warn that if he doesn't make it, water wings won't help him.
Right. Because if he's floating, he just looks like a seal.
He's going to be dead. So the attempt would take place at the old Chicago Amphitheater. So that's where it's going down here. There's a producer. The independent producer would be Marty Pacetta Productions, credited with 6 Oscar Award telecasts, 7 Grammy telecasts, plus the Elvis Presley comeback special, Aloha from Hawaii, which played to the largest worldwide television audience in history.
Wow.
So he's done some of these before, this guy. The hosts of this event would be Telly Savalas, who was Kojak, bald guy with a lollipop, if you don't know.
Great.
And the act... Yeah.
Speaking, fuck, he's such an icon then.
Yeah, oh God, he was huge.
Yeah.
And Jill St. John, who was famous as playing James Bond's girlfriend in the movie Diamonds Are Forever. So, Pacetta himself would be the executive producer. Michael Seligman, a rising star in this specials business, would be the producer. The show would have that mashed together television buzz of an award show, a halftime at the Rose Bowl, a true made-for-TV event. He said the ratings are going to be huge. There's going to be sequels. This is going to be awesome. Yeah. Then they figured out it's not going to be so awesome when they started dealing with evil. Well, Seligman was the first to realize that this could be a disaster. Mm-hmm. He went to visit Knievel a few weeks before the jump in Fort Lauderdale. The two men had met once before in Los Angeles at Dino's Lodge, a bar owned by Dean Martin on Sunset Boulevard here. So what happened that night, I guess it was the front of the bar was the site for the opening credits of a TV show called 77 Sunset Strip, which aired for like 7 years. So it was on for a long time in the late 50s, early 60s. The bar is built on the side of a hill. The entrance is at street level, but the back of the building dropped 2 flights lower. Right. It's like off a hill. So that was why Knievel dared Seligman to jump out of the back window.
Because it's low back there.
No, it's you don't know how far it is back there. It's a drop of unknown proportions. So you just take it.
But he walked in the front door and he's like, just jump off the jump out the back door. All right.
So it was the first night they met. He said they were just talking, having a cocktail, and Evel said, "Jump, do it now. Go ahead, go." Jump. So they said, "Well, you don't know how far that is down. I don't know where. It's dark. What the fuck are you talking about? And who knows what's going to be down there? A big rock sticking into my taint. Anything could happen."
Yeah.
So Evel said, "You should do it. If you're going to work with daredevils, you should be a daredevil yourself." Uh-huh. And Seligman said, quote, "I'm a Jew. Jews don't jump out of windows. We hire people to jump out of windows. We hire our daredevils."
Yeah. You're my Jew. I'm
hiring you. He said, so Knievel laughed. They laughed. Everybody got along. Everything's fine.
I'm a Jew. All right.
I'm a Jew. I hire my daredevils. Knievel suggested that this man's soon-to-be daughter, who was going to be born, should be called Evelette.
What?
So you should call her Evelette. So now the producer had to visit the Daredevil in Florida to work out the details of the telecast. Evel invited him to stay a night aboard the Evil Eye 1, the big one.
Which one?
The big one. His parents lived in Fort Lauderdale, so he could have stayed with them, but he said, Knievel invited me, fuck it. I'll go stay with Evel. So he and his parents went out to a large dinner with Evel and his family, and then he could go back to the yacht with Evel. Right. Seligman said, quote, "The dinner was fine. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Then we got back to the boat." This is horrifying, by the way. "He'd been drinking. I went to bed, and he started beating up his wife and children."
What?
Yeah. It was terrible. I didn't see it firsthand, no, but I heard all of it. I heard the yelling, and I heard the slaps, and then I heard the crying. I heard his wife, Linda, crying. I heard the kids crying.
God,
he just came home and started beating the shit out of his family for no reason. They were probably sleeping. He probably woke them up to beat the shit out of them. So he said in the middle of the night, Seligman quietly gathered his things and got off the boat and went to stay with his parents. So now they say nothing was funny now. From the moment the show was conceived, it had been an inherent possibility for trouble, the chance that any of the live acts could draw an instant cloud over the proceedings with a bad result. Scenarios had been created for what to do in each case, how to handle hospital situations, how even to handle death. Right. The first move in all fatalities would be go to commercial. Number one. Now there was an additional worry that the star of the show, the guy whose name was in the title, was a time bomb. Evel was again seen as a real jerk. The Shark Tank people had come to the same conclusions as the Snake River launch people. Seligman said he was just an awful guy. Wow. So a press conference is held on January 25th, 1977, 6 days before the event.
But this didn't make news. It's just Seligman. That guy knows.
Yeah.
But he's going to break it, huh?
He said this 30 years later.
Yeah, okay, all right.
He didn't talk about this till the book came out, like 2015 or something. Wow. So, yeah, this is way late. I mean, he told everybody that he knew at the time, but it wasn't. Nothing got out publicly.
Okay.
So there's a press conference here, and it's a press conference talking about the sharks, and they have a miniature thing set up with a ramp and an Evel Knievel figure on a little Evel Knievel bike, and a shark tank with little like plastic sharks in it, and like to show what it is.
Yeah.
And Evel's supposed to be the guest of honor, obviously, and he's supposed to show up and walk everybody through it. This is how I'm going to go, and I'm going to do this and everything. So he's supposed to come to this press conference, and they wait for him, and he doesn't show up. Oh. So they have to tell the press, we were in contact with him all day yesterday, then we lost contact last night. So then the executive producer's like, all right, let's try to spin this to a positive.
Yeah.
He said he is what he is. Knowing Evel, he could very well come walking into this press conference, or he could very well not come walking into this press conference. He's unpredictable, huh? So anyway, he's not there, basically.
He never shows up.
He never fucking shows up. And they're talking about all the other acts that are going to take place. Somebody's going to walk on a wire stretched between the hotels, the Eden Rock and Fontainebleau in Miami. Mm-hmm. And another guy's going to perform a trapeze that hung from a helicopter.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Ron Phillips, Evel Knievel's buddy from Butte, would drive a ski mobile off a ski jump in Lincolnshire, Illinois. There, Orville Kisselberg, a daredevil who had known Evel almost since the beginning, would blow himself up with the Russian death chair. That's the guy who blows himself 30 feet into the air. And Jumpin' Joe Gerlach would jump off the roof of the Chicago Amphitheater, an 84-foot drop into a 3-foot sponge on the street.
He didn't do that, right?
He did. Yeah, he did that.
How do you do that?
I have no fucking idea. But they're going to do it anyway. At the end of the presentation, with no Evel, the producer walks up with a note in his hand, and he said, I got a note from a messenger from Evel. He just messengered this here.
He's shopping sharks.
Yeah, he says, wait till we get to the shark shopping.
Oh boy.
The note says, this is a more dangerous jump than the Snake River Canyon or any of my other jumps. Signed, Evel Knievel. That's what he would have said. And all the press was like, ugh, yeah, right. None of them even wrote it down. So he never showed up. Everybody went home. So Knievel was still in Fort Lauderdale. That's where he was.
State of Florida.
So a reporter named Joey Goldstein tracked him down there and asked him, what's your excuse for missing the press conference?
Yeah.
He said Goldstein said it was the second time in his life that he's fucking, had to deal this shit. Yeah. So Evel tells him the truth. I guess. Truth at the moment. He said Evel told him, among other things, quote, I'm sick and tired of dealing with Jews.
Evel.
That's what he told a reporter named Joey Goldstein. Okay. Now, Evel, he said maybe Evel had said it only for Goldstein's benefit, a personal ethnic dig, because he liked to do that with people. Yeah. Maybe it was no more than an insensitive joke. Maybe, too, he meant it. Whichever the case, it got printed in a Chicago newspaper the next day, along with the previous quote that he told Bob Arum that the three things he hates most in life are lawyers, New Yorkers, and Jews. So, they said the star of Evel Knievel's death defiers was left to scramble long distance in denial. He said he'd received 91 phone calls, which is a totally made-up number. 90's too round, 91 phone calls sounds ridiculous. That sounds
100 sounds crazy.
100's too many. 91, that's the number. What a liar. He said that with people that were upset with him. He said he never said those words, and he never would. Knowing what we know about Evel, he absolutely said that.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
He said it. In case you misheard me, I'll say it again.
Yeah, and then he threw goddamn Jews in there probably first, I would assume.
He probably spelled it for him. J.E. Dubs.
He said K-I. No, that's how he spelled it for him. He said he had a wisdom tooth that was giving him shit. That's what it was. That's why he wasn't there. He said I have a lot of friends who are Jews.
Oh, yeah.
He said, including Howard Cosell. Mm-hmm. He's my friend. He said, I owe all my success in the world to these people. He said, I'm probably a Jew myself because I believe in life.
Okay. What?
Then he says, if any son of a bitch in Chicago says I'm anti-Semitic, I'm going to beat the shit out of him, especially if it's a Jew. I will really kick his Jew ass if that's what he wants.
And if he's in Chicago and he's a lawyer from New York, he's really going to get it.
He's getting it. I'm going to run him over with the motorcycle. So there's a couple of problems with this venture, and the main problem is the sharks.
Yeah.
Now, first problem is local animal rights people, even in the 70s, were worried about injuring the sharks.
Right.
The city's Commission on Animal Care and Control said it might have to stop the show. They said, what do we do if he falls into the tank and the sharks attack?
Right.
The guy said, to save his life, you might have to kill sharks. Like, why are you putting him in that position? So they were waiting for something. The second problem was whether there was even going to be any fucking sharks.
Hey, where are you gonna get 'em?
Well, the people in charge of catching the sharks in the Florida Keys were worried about if they could find enough sharks or not.
It might not be shark season.
And then even if the sharks would look fierce. The press release promised, quote, 13 man-eating sharks in the fucking tank. So you got to have 13 sharks. Yeah, they got to be like at least Jaws-level sharks here. So they said about it, this is shark expert Garrett Clay reported to a columnist in the New York Times, quote, we've got maybe 4 acceptable animals, maybe 5.
6 or 7 lemon sharks.
They're lemon sharks.
Are they really?
They absolutely are. The weather's been terrible.
Yeah.
And they said the sharks were far from man-eaters. The biggest boxes Clay had for shipping the animals to Chicago were 8 feet long.
Yeah. These aren't going to be big fish.
No. So they said he was hoping to catch lemon sharks or blue sharks, but they were looking for anything with a dorsal fin at this point. Just look, something that you go, da-nut, da-nut, when you see it. That's all we're asking.
Something to breach the surface with just their fin.
That's it. They said there would be no white sharks, great white sharks like the killer in Jaws. White sharks can be as large as 36 feet long.
Yeah, but you got those so deep, you got to go find those.
And a shark expert said there's not going to be any danger. The shark guy said if Knievel should fall in, he'd spook these animals right out of the pool. They'd be scared shitless of what happened because the splat that would incur, they wouldn't go, oh, good food. They'd go, holy shit, a meteor, and be fucking swimming for their lives.
Yeah, the motorcycle's coming in before him, and that's going to scare the fuck out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to kick up some water. So they said the Smith article was syndicated across the country. Marty Pacetta was forced to scramble again. He described to reporters the size of the saltwater pool that was being built, 90 feet by 50 feet, 4 feet deep. For the animal rights people, he described the care that would be taken with the sharks, the 25,000 pounds of salt and varieties of chemicals that would be put into the water to create a familiar environment. For the potentially bloodthirsty viewers, he described the dangers involved. The sharks definitely would be lemon sharks. They would all be at least 10 feet long, which we know isn't true, and they wouldn't have been fed for 3 days before the jump.
Oh, we're going to starve them.
Yeah, he said, they're going to be mean. Jacques Cousteau assured us that lemon sharks are mean.
Jacques. Okay.
So, Knievel finally appeared in Chicago on Friday and did the Phil Donahue show, which was a local show at the time.
Right.
He did AM Chicago and other television. He said again that he's not anti-Semitic over and over and over again.
I got a lot of Jew friends.
Got a ton of Jew friends. I'll list them for you. He promoted the jump. He did his job. The sharks finally appeared on Saturday and were released into the world's largest indoor saltwater pool. Mm-hmm. They were definitely a long way from home. Chicago was in the midst of a record 45-day stretch where the temperature never got above 32 degrees.
Oh, no.
Horrifying.
You're going to freeze these things.
Well, it's inside, but still, it's not good.
Yeah.
The temperature outside 2 days earlier was a record negative 13 degrees, and the coldest day in the coldest month of Chicago weather history. The wind chill was negative 60 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
The chill now extended to the show itself. Who wanted to come out of the house in that weather?
Right.
Yeah. And they said Pacetta's staff was distributing free tickets to Chicago high schools in an attempt to draw some kind of crowd just for the TV, so it wouldn't look terrible. Ticket sales were almost non-existent. The sports columnist Robert Marcus in the Chicago Tribune said, this time the Sharks are going to be the good guys. Oh, man. That is fucking hilarious. So the play-by-play announcer assigned to the jump was Brent Musburger.
Oh, is that right?
Years and years and years of football and everything else. He'd become CBS's prominent sports voice. I remember him doing all the college basketball when I was a kid, all those Big East games. front and center for the past 2 years as anchor of NFL Today. That's the other one. The pro football show that dominated the Sunday ratings with a cast that included former Miss America Phyllis George, Philadelphia Eagle Irv Cross, and Jimmie the Greek. Musburger was a Montana native, grew up in Big Timber, which was located between Bozeman and Billings, so he found a measure of acceptance from Evel. He was a local guy.
Yeah.
Musburger said, we could always talk about Montana. It was an easy entree. I'd met him at some kind of event a few years earlier in New York, maybe when he announced that he was going to jump the canyon. I didn't know him well, but I had memories from Butte when I was a kid. We could talk about Butte. There were some good restaurants in Butte. I'd go there with my parents. Musburger, the day before the show, looked down into the tank. He was surprised. He thought the sharks looked like minnows. He didn't feel afraid. This was a challenge? He said maybe with the right camera angle it would look better. He sure hopes so.
Yeah, you got to get them from below. It's only 4 feet deep and they still don't look big. Those fish don't get that big. They're maybe 8 feet long if they're at a mature, ready to die level.
This is the best, okay? So he went back to his hotel room to get ready for the big night. That's fucking Musburger. They go in the book. This was a mistake, though. He missed the action. Knievel crashed and landed in the hospital before the event even began.
What?
Yeah. Musburger said, I wasn't there in the afternoon, but I guess the director wanted Evel to do a practice run. He went to the trailer where Evel was drinking Jack Daniels with another guy. I bet it was Wild Turkey.
Yeah, no Jack Daniels.
They'd been there drinking for a while. The director said he wanted Evel to do the practice run. Evel told the guy to go to hell. The director said that if Evel didn't do the practice run, there would be no show. So Evel punched the director, just whacked him, sent the guy spinning out of the door of the trailer right down the stairs. Then he put his helmet on and said something like, you want a practice run? I'll give you a goddamn practice run. Well, the guy's holding his jaw. He went over to the bike, kicked the starter, jumped onto the saddle. Cameramen scrambled to get their equipment, and he just took off, and he crashed.
God damn it. Because he was drunk.
Yep, went over the side. He was drunk, and he crashed the motorcycle. It was something straight out of Hollywood. They carried him off to the hospital.
Awesome.
Now, there's other versions of this event that happened here. Here's another thing where they say Musburger's account of the events was backwards. Other accounts flipped the scene 180 degrees. Knievel wanted to do a practice run. The producers didn't. He was drinking, drunk. There was an argument. That part is never different in any story. He's drunk and belligerent. That we know. It's what he's mad at that we're trying to figure out.
Nobody's confused about whether or not there was booze on his breath.
No shit. So according to Michael Seligman, Knievel pushed Marty Pacetta against the wall of the trailer and said something like, I don't care what you want. I'm doing a practice run. Pacetta was left in pain in the trailer. Knievel stormed off, jumped on the bike, crashed, landed in even more pain than Marty Pacetta. Seligman said, thank goodness we were ready for anything. We had all the cameras in position. We were rolling. We had all the angles covered except from the cameraman Knievel crashed into.
Oh, shit.
A third version of the argument inserted Sandy Wernick, part of the production staff, into the role of pushee in the trailer. Wernick, according to this story, tried to convince Evel not to take a practice jump because it would jeopardize the primetime show. The two men argued. Knievel finally asked Wernick if he was a Jew.
Uh-oh.
Wernick said he was. Knievel pushed him, went out, and crashed. He's turned into... Maybe Mel Gibson just idolized Evel Knievel. Maybe that's what it was. Because he's literally, it's the same thing. Yeah, I bet you're... Anytime he's upset with somebody, he's like, you're a Jew, aren't you?
What are you, a Jew?
What are you, a Jew or something? So he said Wernick, over 30 years later, now the manager of comedian Adam Sandler.
Is that right?
Talk about making a lot of money for nothing. That is something there. Refused to talk about the moment. Pacetta, retired, also refused. His spokesman said he has never talked about the Death Defiers show and he never will. Why?
That seems like a pretty fucking great story. I'd tell that to everybody.
Yeah. I'd want to hear about that. This is all... Fuck, man. The result of the incident, and everyone agreed there was an incident that involved a push, anger, and then a crash. That happened. We just don't know what order
or why. Yeah.
Or why. It was all the same in all the stories. Knievel was in the hospital. This was different from any of the other crashes he had suffered in the past. The easy jump, no more than 90 feet in the original plan, the distance in baseball from home plate to first base, had been made easier when he pulled a safety deck into place that shortened the distance to 64 feet. That's much shorter.
Yeah, that's 30 feet shorter.
Christ, that's more like the pitcher's mound at that point to home plate, because that's 60 feet. Roughly the distance from home plate to the pitcher's mound. There you go. The idea that he could not make that jump was almost inconceivable, yet he crashed. He easily cleared the pool of sleeping docile sharks, but seemed to turn the handlebars in mid-flight. He hit the landing hard, trying to correct his path, and overcorrected. Maybe because he's shit-faced. This is probably not good. He took a hard right off the elevated ramp, went through a barrier, clipped a 29-year-old cameraman from Arlington Heights named Thomas Guerin, who was filming the jump and had no idea what was coming. The motorcycle flipped, and Evel went flying as it went upside down. Everything out of control, and he landed on concrete.
Whoa.
This is like his worst crash ever, it sounds like. He was taken to the Michael Reese Medical Center on the south side, where he was diagnosed with a broken clavicle, collarbone, broken right forearm, wrist and leg contusions, and bruises. Guerin was also taken to the hospital, but minor injuries. Somewhere in the ambulance or on the ambulance ride, or perhaps in the emergency room, while he was having his injuries treated, Knievel figured out an explanation for what had happened. He figured out a doozy. He wasn't drunk, he was a hero. That's what it is.
Oh, so he was going to hit something?
He wasn't just a sloppy drunk who fucking crashed a motorcycle. He was actually taking one for the team. He had crashed in the afternoon to save innocent people, paying customers who would be in the crowd at night. He had decided a day earlier that a crash was inevitable because the setup in the amphitheater was too confined and cramped and not right. Simply to get enough room to gather enough speed, a hole had been made in the amphitheater wall, and he would have to fly through the hole onto the ramp over the sharks and land on the ramp that went upward again over the same seats. It was all crazy. Rather than force the promoters to make the jump safe, or for him to decide not to jump at all and back out, he took things into his own hands.
Crashed on a prelim run. Now nobody's there. Saved a bunch of lives.
Just magnanimous. That's all it is. It's just being a good guy. He said, I knew there was going to be an accident and the show couldn't be canceled. So I decided to take what was coming to me, and I didn't want to see anyone else hurt. I made the practice run before an empty house so no parents or children would be hurt. God. He not only removed all blame from himself, but he turned into Audie Murphy, Congressional Medal of Honor winner, jumping on a ticking hand grenade to save the rest of the platoon. Right. This was grand, audacious stuff. Yeah, this is...
What a guy.
Evil, full of shit to the highest order here. He said, I knew when I squeezed it all together yesterday that it wasn't going to work. When we put it all together, the tank, the ramp, the ski slope, it was too cramped. I fell Sunday when I took a practice run up the ski slope. I knew as soon as I saw it that it was too steep to climb. He said, I'm not placing the blame on anybody or anything. It was a combination of pressure and faulty, hasty preparation. Because of the ski jump construction, I felt someone would have been killed. It was my obligation to make it safe, and there was a misunderstanding between the production company and myself. The show had to come off, but I couldn't take a chance with people's lives, so I told the cameras to roll and took the run.
Thank God for Evel.
Oh, thank fuck for Evel. He saved countless.
Can't imagine.
Countless fucking lives, man. That's the thing. He was treated. Countless children would have been impaled.
Thousands of people and at least 10 sharks.
10 sharks. The whole place would have probably burned to the ground, I would imagine, right? So, I mean, with the ensuing fire, who knows how many lives he saved. So he was treated at Michael Reese Center by Carlton West, a 33-year-old black orthopedic physician. West had been put on alert, told that business might be arriving from the Death Defier show at the amphitheater. Hey, we might have an influx here. Yeah. They're doing dumb shit downtown. He was still surprised when the emergency room began to fill with hubbub. He said, I didn't have time to think about Evel Knievel as a celebrity. This is what he tells Jet Magazine. I guess I just started to think about it after all the reporters and cameras came. The angle for the Jet Magazine story here was basically black doctor treats famous white man. Still seen as news in 1977. Oh. You're looking, we're squinting going, where's the story? But in 77, that was a story. The reporter wanted to know if Knievel had mentioned Dr. West's race.
Yeah.
I'm going to give everybody out there a chance to answer that. Let's have a trivia here. A, yes. B, yes and with slurs. Or C, no, he was unconscious. Which one do you think it was?
Is it B?
Well, let's find out. Quote, his comments regarding that were actually complimentary, but I think my youthful appearance was more striking than my color. So that's what he did. He was like, oh, you're pretty smart for a black guy. That's probably what he said or some shit like that. Evel said, I'm being accused of being an anti-Semite by some newspapers, but that's not true. When I was a little boy, the only man I wanted to be like was Joe Louis. I think he's done more for race relations in this country than anybody. Mm-hmm. So there. That's what he said. So, yeah, all the newspapers are reporting his practice jumps and all that shit. He said he had to do it because it was so dangerous. Just every newspaper article. He's like, I'm a hero, really. These irresponsible television people really is what it is. Right. It's just irresponsible. Okay. So the Sharks had been there for 3 days. They didn't know what happened.
In their own piss and shit. And
like, how long are we going to be in here for? Jesus Christ. Someone better jump into this tank already because I got to eat somebody.
Throw us a baby. Jesus,
something here. So there we go. There's that. There's also under that an ad for Studio Blue Adult Theater. Yeah? Yeah, fantastic XXX movies. Oh, God. We got a John Holmes movie here.
Of course.
John Holmes dares you to see the most erotic film he's ever made, Liquid Lips. Gross. It is.
God, Jesus.
And then number 2 is rated XXX starring...
They couldn't call it Mouthful of Jizz? Is that why?
Mouthful of Liquid Lips. Couldn't call it Jizz Garglers 3, so they called it Liquid Lips. Rated XXX, next one starring Johnny Wad, with 2 Ds, of course. Yeah. Tropic of Passion.
Have you never heard of him?
I've heard of him, but I didn't know how his name was spelled.
Him and
Holmes, I know, is the big one, because they made the movie about him. Yeah. Those are the 2, and the big 2. And also, it's adult book night. Bring any adult book, give us the book, and be admitted for $2.
Give us a book, and you still got to pay?
You got to pay, but less, because it's normally,
7.
It doesn't say the rates here. Doesn't say,
7.
But you get in for $2 here. Yeah. My favorite part of this ad, though, is under the times when they're open, it says special rates for senior citizens. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. The old folks love Johnny Wad. He's a favorite among the old.
Are they a target audience for tug?
I guess. I mean, who knows? I suppose seniors, though. Back then, I didn't think they were going out jerking it, but I guess they are.
Theaters full of old people. Jesus
my God, that is disturbing as fuck, dude. Yeah. Two attractions too. So. The book goes on to say, left without the main attraction for Evel Knievel's Death Defiers, Evel Knievel, Marty Pacetta Productions, and CBS were forced to improvise. There were no thoughts of cancellation, but adjustments certainly had to be made. The film from the different camera locations was edited in a hurry, a package prepared for the show. A camera crew was sent to the Michael Reese Center to be ready for live updates and an interview with the injured star from his hospital bed. Telly Savalas and Jill St. John were briefed and told they had to ad-lib a lot. Because they're announcing nothing.
Yeah.
The show that followed was a mishmash of mistakes, an artistic disaster. Savalas and St. John struggled. They looked like they were a weekend replacement anchor team at a small station in the Midwest, unprepared, off-stride from the beginning. All dialogue was stiff. The film of Knievel's crash was shown. The Daredevil was interviewed a number of times from the hospital. Savalas kept saying, it's only orthopedic about Knievel's injuries, whatever that meant. Yeah, what does that mean? With Knievel, his organs aren't damaged. With Knievel out of action, the Death Defiers took on an added importance. They were the live action. This became another mess. The first Death Defier to perform was Wallenda, walking the tightrope between 2 hotels in Miami. The problem was he hadn't even arrived at the hotels on time. He was caught somewhere on the streets of Miami in a traffic jam. He would perform later on in the show, but the schedule had to be ripped up again. Savalas and St. John kept ad-libbing. Commercials came at strange times. Everything was strange. It's a fucking mess.
Random intervals of commercials.
Just up there. Here's more commercials. Ron Phillips said, I was at the top of the ski jump waiting with my snowmobile. It was cold up there, waiting and waiting. All the snow around the base of the snowmobile had turned to ice. I didn't know that.
Oh my God.
Wired for sound, able to hear the broadcast through a plug in his ear, able to talk into a little microphone, Phillips received word that he should go. He made a few practice runs earlier, no problem, but now when he started moving and stepped onto the foot pegs to lift himself, one leg slipped on the ice that had formed on the foot peg. Fuck. That caused him to let off the throttle, and by the time he was able to give the machine more gas, he knew that he was not be traveling fast enough, which was 50 miles an hour when he hit the edge of the jump, and he knew he would crash. He went off the edge of the jump, he bailed. He went one way, the machine luckily went another. He landed lucky on his back, sort of lucky. Nothing had been broken, but the air in his body had been expelled with the force of landing, and he couldn't talk. "Are you all right, Ron?" Jill St. John asked in his ear from Chicago. No answer. "Was that the practice jump we just saw, Ron?" "Ron, was that the practice jump?" The air came back into Phillips' body. "You got to be shitting me," he said from the ice and snow. The Russian death chair was another problem. Kisselberg was receiving only $5,000 from Knievel for his act, but now he was the star of the show in the grand finale.
Shit.
He was very nervous. After all this time on tour, all the stunts, this was his first time on national television. This was also his first time in a tuxedo.
Really?
Okay. Ron Phillips said Orville always dressed up as a clown when he performed, but Evel told him this was national television and he couldn't dress, quote, like a fucking clown. And he had to wear a tuxedo. I don't think he knew what a tuxedo was when Evel said it. Phillips took Kisselberg to a tuxedo rental establishment, told him to say if anyone asked that he was going to a wedding and not going to explode himself. Fitted and dressed for the big night, he added another extra for his performance. In his normal act, he blew himself into the air with 3 sticks of dynamite. For national television, he decided to add a 4th stick for a bigger blast, a record.
Damn it.
The trick was to place a 50-pound bag of cement over the dynamite. As part of the finer print in the laws of physics, a cone of silence, maybe 2 feet by 2 feet, exists over the exploding dynamite. Stay inside the cone, put something in your ears to absorb the noise, fly into the air, and it'll be all right. Kisselberg always put cotton in his ears.
Oh, God.
He'd been told that earplugs could be blown straight into your brain by impact, so cotton seemed a better choice.
That can't possibly be true.
I don't know how that would happen, yeah. As everybody hurried on this night, though, schedules out of whack, he'd forgotten to put the cotton in his ears. He realized this 5, 4, 3 as the countdown came, and he girded himself for the blast. Here was this guy. This is a quote from Brent Busberger here. Here was this guy in the middle of a field in Skokie, Illinois, or wherever, strapped to a chair with 3 or 4 sticks of dynamite strapped to the seat. He said he was going to blow himself up. It was a challenge to broadcast. How do you do play-by-play of something like that? There he is, ladies and gentlemen. His finger is moving closer to the button. What if all goes wrong? The 4 sticks of dynamite explosion was bigger than the 3 sticks explosion, bigger than Kisselberg had imagined it would be. He went flying 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet into the air. The 50 pounds of cement, in addition to absorbing a bunch of the concussion, split open to cover the scene with gray dust that had covered everything, including Orville Kisselberg.
Oh, my God.
He was knocked silly, stretched out on the cold ground, and his hearing was gone. Phillips and the EMTs on duty ran to him, and finally he got him to his feet. He's alive, Brent Musburger exulted as the broadcast from the amphitheater and tried to get him into an ambulance. Kisselberg, uninsured in the daredevil business, refused. He figured his hearing would return when the ringing stopped. He's like, don't put me in an ambulance. That's expensive. The only other problem was that rented tuxedo. It looked like shredded wheat, Phillips said. He and Kisselberg zipped the suit into the handy carrying case, took the carrying case back to the rental place, and left in a hurry. Never heard from the people again. Now, the reviews of the show are terrible, obviously.
Yeah.
It's a fucking disaster. Joan Ryan almost killed a guy, almost killed multiple guys. 3 guys almost killed. Joan Ryan of the Washington Post said, Evel Knievel's Death Defiers now must be considered the worst TV program ever.
Yeah.
The worries of the animal rights people were justified as half the sharks died.
Did they really?
They just died from, can't move them around like that. They're sensitive.
And also, you ignored them while you were exploding dynamite and shooting a man onto ice.
Yeah. Only 12 sharks in the end had arrived for the show, not the unlucky 13 that were advertised. One died before the show, so that left 11 in the tank when Knievel shot off the ramp and crashed. One died when the pool was being drained, and another died from bites it had received in the tank from another shark.
Yeah, they were hungry.
And 3 died in the transit to their future home in Boston at the New England Aquarium.
God damn it.
Shark expert Clay said, quote, "I'll tell you, I'll never work with TV people again." He was angry that he only had 3 days to prepare the water for his clients instead of the promised 10 to 14 days like they had told him. He said they went back on their word. The final verdict, however, came in on the show in the weekly Tuesday meeting at CBS headquarters in New York that autocratic network Chief William S. Paley held with his department heads. Careers, lives were known to change in an instant in these meetings. Bob Wussler had his people at CBS Sports. They were all terrified. They suspected they could all be fired. Paley, according to one account, went through some other business until he reached the Death Defiers. He looked at the Nielsen ratings numbers and said something like, quote, "Pretty good. If we can improve our production qualities the next time, perhaps Death Defiers 2 can be even better."
You get a zoom-in close-up of a man exploding himself.
Doesn't matter. That's Michael Seligman said the numbers were everything. That's television.
Yeah.
That's it. He said it's all about the fucking numbers. They said, Seligman said your act was sensational. That is what Seligman and Pacetta wrote in a co-signed letter to Orville Kisselberg a month later. As you know, the show had the highest ratings on CBS this year, a 50 share. Crushed it. Definitely going to be more of that. So March 9th, 1977 here, Jesus Christ, Bing Crosby, hospitalized by a fall from stage, got a joking offer of aid in a phone call Tuesday from a physician with plenty of experience patching up battered performers, Evel Knievel's doctor. Bing had quite a chuckle, but turned down the offer, saying Bing didn't break any bones, unlike Evel. So there you go. He's expected to be there, just laughing it up, having a chuckle of a laugh. Didn't Bing have some problems, by the way? Wasn't Big real bad to his family, if I'm not mistaken?
I'm not. I don't know.
I think Bing. I think there was some shit that came out later from like Bing's kids that he was not
Bing
a good guy to his
Crosby.
family. Yeah, White Christmas and all.
Really?
Yeah. I think so. I really do. I think his kids came out and said he like beat them up or some shit.
Family abuse. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Bing Crosby never admitted it. He said he was strict and hard on his kids. He beat those kids.
40 style. In other words, I beat the shit out of them on a nightly basis.
2 committed suicide, James.
Yeah, that's not good. If 2 of your kids off themselves, that's your fault.
And 2 struggled throughout life in and out of trouble. Bing was a bad dad.
Yeah, it sounds like so him and Evel together really sound like the buddies here. Holy fucking shit, man.
That's crazy.
This is so much.
Who knew?
I thought I had heard it. I thought I had heard it, but one of those deals. I don't know. Didn't know though.
Oh my God, his niece is a child molester.
Oh, perfect. We're gonna do a bonus episode about the Crosby family.
The Crosbys are out of control.
They're out of fucking line here. Holy shit. I guess there's a court decision on Evel Knievel and the cleanup expenses incurred in the city of Twin Falls after the Snake River Canyon jump.
Yeah, because he just littered like crazy out there.
That's the thing. Apparently, it's in the appeal of Knievel, Snake River Canyon Enterprises, and United Pacific Insurance Company from a summary judgment entered in the favor of Twin Falls County. The county brought the action to recover costs incurred by the city about all the fucking debris that's left everywhere. Yeah. So that's how that goes. There's appeals to that. 1977, kids, you can win a 3-day trip to New Orleans for the world premiere of Evel Knievel's new movie, Viva Knievel.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. You can meet Evel Knievel in person, have lunch with him, attend a premiere party with him, and see New Orleans.
Okay.
Holy goddamn shit. That's what you want. Your kid having lunch with Evel Knievel. Yeah. Kid will be shit-faced by the time the fucking entree comes out. There's also the world premiere of Evel Knievel. There's different age categories. Instructions for performing the stunts with the toy Evel Knievel stunt cycle are available with each of the stores, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's a whole thing to fill out. June 1st, 1977, Viva Knievel opens. Viva Knievel on IMDb, by the way, has 1.4 thousand ratings.
Yeah.
3.5 out of 10. It is
Not good.
Bad fucking movie.
Pretty bad movie, yeah.
And the description is, he's powered his Harley over cars, trucks, lions, infernos, and plummeted headlong into a canyon. But if the mob has its way, his next incredible leap will land him 6 feet under.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's him fighting the mob. And it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Directed by Gordon Douglas. Gene Kelly is in it, playing Will Atkins. Lauren Hutton is like a reporter who's going to shadow him, like follow him around.
She was the head vampire in Once Bitten,
Once
right?
Bitten,
She's the one that,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to use that reference, but I'm like, nobody's fucking seen Once Bitten.
It's the only
Literally,
thing
I
I've
was like,
seen her in.
me too, because I saw it a million times when I was a kid, and we did it for PS. I Hate This Movie, too. So
Really?
Yeah, we did Once
She was
Bitten
a
for that.
model and shit, but
Yeah.
I'm sure she was in other things, too. She had to be.
Oh, she was in a
that.
ton of shit.
Yeah.
Red Buttons. Leslie Nielsen's in that. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen's in it.
I wonder if his connection to Evel is why he ended up in Arizona at the end.
I don't know. I have no idea. I think maybe he was just old and went to Arizona like everybody else.
Evel,
they were old in the 80s.
I mean, Evel was always in fucking. I remember him being in Arizona all the time.
He was always there. Also, some people you wouldn't expect. You got your Frank Giffords. Dabney Coleman in this movie.
Is that right?
Absolutely. You don't expect that very often here to see
That's a
fucking
star-studded cast for like people
Dabney
that I would have
Coleman.
loved in the 80s.
Yeah, people. I know that guy. I know that guy. So it comes out. Bad movie. Here's a review of it. 1 star. I'll give you 1 review from IMDb. The title is Crash and Burn, first of all. Viva Knievel has to be one of the worst movies ever made. But like Plan 9 from Outer Space, it's so bad that it makes for a hilarious night. That's the thing about it.
Yeah, it's a fun watch.
He thinks it's so good, obviously, when you're watching it, that it makes it hilarious. Like, takes itself so fucking seriously that you can't help but laugh. If you like bad movies, this is a must-see. In the film, Knievel is presented as some sort of cross between Elvis and Jesus. One scene at the front of the film even has Knievel seeming to heal crippled children by presenting them with Evel Knievel model kits. That's true. He's been shown as a beacon of hope in a dark world, yet he's also shown nearly threatening the life of Red Button's character because Red hasn't paid him his money yet. That's true. By the way, how on earth did people like Red Buttons, Gene Kelly, Lauren Hutton, and Leslie Nielsen end up in this turkey? Turkey. Jive turkey. If you can't appreciate an incredibly bad movie, stay as far away from it as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very perfect review of that thing. So here is a review of it from Edwin Howard from The Front Row, which is the Memphis Press newspaper, a couple days after it came out. Evel Knievel, who will take a flying leap at almost anything, makes his most ill-advised leap ever, jumping flat-footed into the movies in Viva Knievel, which opens, not a good opening, which opened yesterday at all these different theaters. It is his worst landing ever, and you know how many bones he's already broken. It isn't just that Knievel can't act his way off a cycle ramp. He also has been given a script to negotiate that makes his Snake River Canyon jump route look as safe as a 10-foot driveway. Nobody can make it across the stereotypes, cliches, and trumped-up action hammered together by scenarists, I guess that's the writers, Antonio Centillin and Norman Katkov. Knievel is called upon to make a couple of actual stadium jumps in the picture, once leaping a cage of allegedly hungry lions and tigers. The other, a bed of what is described by television commentator Frank Gifford as burning, flaming fire, which, of course, is the most dangerous kind. You know.
3 kinds of fire. Shit.
You know, yeah. Knievel is represented in the film as a beautiful person who spends most of his free time looking after ailing, crippled, or homeless little boys. It's absolutely what it is. Hey, where's these kids? I want to help them. Giving them Evel Knievel toys and setting the crippled ones a wonderful example by always doing his utmost to walk away from his crashes. He is such a cloyingly great guy that only over his dead body could $50 million worth of cocaine be smuggled from Mexico into the U.S. in his tractor trailer. And this is exactly how fake promoter Leslie Nielsen plans it. He and cohorts Albert Salmi and Cameron Mitchell, who's another one who's in a lot of bad movies. Cameron Mitchell's in so many fucking bad movies. Like, he is famous for them.
Who is he?
He was kind of a star in the 60s and 70s, and then after that he was like a name that was sort of recognizable that you could stick in a low-budget movie and give him $1,000 and he'll do it.
Well, the poor bastard is outshined by the CEO of Mitchell's Steakhouse and
there
Mitchell's Steak Market. Unless that's him, I can't be. No, it's not. There's the other guy. He's 55 years old. Oh, yeah, I know his face. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you'd seen his face in movies. He's everywhere, though. He and cohorts Albert Salmi and Cameron Mitchell make exact copies of all Knievel's rolling stock, including his jump cycle, which they rigged to blow a tire on an electric signal from them. This, done just as he lands in a record-challenging Mexican jump, is supposed to assure his death. Never mind that no previous crashes killed him. Yeah. Right. Then the crooks will put his casket in their dope-loaded twin to Knievel's trailer and head back across the border, confident that no customs inspector will search a funeral fucking deal here. A naive notion in itself. Yeah, of course they would. The film is so idiotically conceived and so badly written and acted that I was embarrassed for Gene Kelly, who plays Knievel's chief mechanic, and Lauren Hutton, who is the love interest. Knievel is just spinning his wheels here. Yeah, he throws her on the back of the bike and goes for spins and shit.
Oh, boy.
She was probably tormented on that set by him.
She's probably horrified, too.
Horrified and everything else. So, yeah, he's doing his victory lap here for his whole movie outing here. He has also been voted, this is hilarious, he has been voted one of the 10 most admired men in the world in a poll of U.S. school children conducted by Ladies' Home Journal.
It's true, man. These kids loved him.
He says he wants to, this is amazing, jump the Suez Canal for peace.
Oh, geez,
you know,
there
was a lot of shit going on there. And for $10 million. Yeah, and he wants $10 million too.
Yeah.
He also applied to the city of New York for permission to jump his motorcycle across the Twin Towers between one and the other.
The ones in New York?
Yeah. He's going for that.
100 whatever feet or 100 and fucking whatever stories above the earth.
That's the one. That's the two.
Okay.
Now, how the fuck did these people that were good actors end up in this movie?
Yeah,
people like Gene Kelly, who probably don't need the money at this point.
Right.
Well, there's an answer here in this article. Kelly's kids, Knievel fans, is the whole thing here.
Is.
The same reason why tons of old people who didn't know what the fuck the Simpsons were in the early 90s were on the Simpsons because their kids or their grandkids told them they liked it. That's all. So they said, or why Bob Hoskins played Mario in fucking Super Mario Brothers because his kids said Super Mario was cool, so he did it. How did Gene Kelly wind up playing Gabby Hayes to Evel Knievel's Gene Autry in a motorized horse opera? Because that's what the film Viva Knievel essentially is. You may wonder, but Kelly said he had two reasons for making the movie: a young son and a young daughter. When I was first approached about making this movie, I said no. But then this Evel Knievel picture came along, and when my children heard about it, they asked me to do it, so I agreed to do the picture. Another reason I made it is that it's family entertainment. I've shot my mouth off a lot about pictures you can't send your kids to, so when I got this chance to make a family picture, I thought maybe I should do it. A family picture? It's about cocaine smuggling. How is that a family movie?
It happens to have Evel Knievel in it.
Holy fucking shit, man. Okay, now here is some crime, and this is going to be a big one.
Okay.
And this will take us to our next episode and everything probably here. So here we go. This is from the book. His residence when he was in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, was now the Sheraton Universal Hotel. Oh. He could sit in his suite in the 20-story hotel located on a hill overlooking Universal City and almost be able to see the old Hollywood Motel on Ventura Boulevard where he had spent his early days in the city. He could think about how far the trip had been from one stop to the other. His neighbor was Telly Savalas, the host of the ill-fated Shark Spectacular, a perpetual resident of the Sheraton because it was close to the Universal lot where he filmed Kojak. The hotel was also convenient for Knievel when he filmed an episode of The Bionic Woman with Lindsay Wagner at the beginning of the month. In September of 1977 at Universal. He liked the hotel. He sometimes stayed for a few weeks in a row if he was catching good tail. You know how that works. So, a funny thing happened during that Bionic Woman show. He was on the set, and some guy came to him and asked him for his car keys. The guy said the Stutz d'Italia Roadster, the Stutz valued at $129,500, was blocking traffic. Knievel flipped the keys to him, and the guy tried to steal the car and just drive it away. He wasn't part of the crew. He was just a guy trying to steal his car. The guy panicked. I guess a security guard tried to stop him, and the guy panicked, and he crashed the car into the front gate.
He tried to go, though.
Yeah, he tried to take off. Just today, the studio had settled on a figure of $9,588 to pay for the damages. Very good. Maybe it was an omen. There had been a run of not so good in the past year. Start with the shark fiasco. Continue with the movie Viva Knievel with Lauren Hutton and Gene Kelly and Red Buttons and all those people. It opened in the beginning of June and pretty much was a bomb. The critics hated it. The public never showed up. The toys looked like they needed a boost too. Lee Majors, the $6 million man, had taken control in the sales figures for 2 Christmases now. What did Lee Majors ever do? Because, the Bionic Man and Woman dolls were big shit. Those are still out there a lot. Then there was the Internal Revenue Service always on his back, and some guy in Twin Falls that he hadn't been paid for the chemical toilets. Still from the
Snake River Canyon jump.
From the Snake, yeah.
Wow.
And even old Watcha McCollum, the pilot from Snake River, was looking for money. Said Knievel not only doesn't know the meaning of the word fear, he also doesn't know the meaning of the words accounts payable. Yeah, that's fucking great. Maybe this was the payoff. This payoff for the Stutz was a start. Maybe the critics would love the Bionic Woman episode when it played in a couple weeks. Maybe the deal he had signed with Ralph Andrews Productions right here in L.A. would develop some great television ideas. Maybe there'd be another movie, though probably not right away. Maybe the revenue stream would get back to its normal flow. Maybe. He was here anyway, Hollywood. This is where deals happen. He had lived long enough and tipped heavily enough in the Sheraton Universal that he knew the different people who worked the different jobs in the hotel. That was why he nodded hello to the cashier in the gift shop, looked toward the rack of paperback books, and said, on this fine day, "Do you have something new I'm going to like?" That's why when the cashier said, "No, but I have something you're not going to like." The book was Evel Knievel on Tour, which promised on its front paperback cover that it would tell the inside stuff on the high-flying daredevil no PG-rated movie could ever show. Uh-oh, that's not good. The cashier said the book was trash. The high-flying daredevil put down the $1.50 price plus state and local tax and took the trash to his suite. I can't imagine him reading. Can you?
He's going to try.
Like shit-faced, he's got to be.
He and I both get headaches reading, I guarantee it.
The author was Shelley Saltman, the Chatterbox publicity man from the Snake River tour, then at the Canyon. He shared the credit with someone named Maury Green. Saltman had mentioned more than once to Knievel on the private jet during the tour that he was going to write a book, but 3 years had passed. The timing seemed strange. Why did he wait so long? Saltman said years later, "I had the tapes and I was going to do the book, and then I was involved in other things, so I sort of forgot about it. Then I was talking with some people one night, the way I normally do, and Maury Green, a writer, was there, and he said, with all my stories about famous people, if I ever had thought about doing a book. I said, funny you asked that, and we eventually put the book together." The tale was basically a chronicle of the tour. The book publicist said he wanted to do this tour that they did. Knievel's words, Knievel's deeds and misdeeds, Saltman's observations were woven together, stop by stop, for 205 pages. As often happens with books, especially mass-market paperbacks, the most provocative writing was on the covers. The back cover promised even more than the front cover did. They say that it takes a hustler to know one, and Saltman got to know Evel Knievel very well, the text read. On a breakneck nationwide tour to promote the Snake River Canyon jump, Shelley got a good, honest look at the man behind the myth. Here's everything that goes on behind the scenes. Big money, big wheeling and dealing, big hoaxes, parties, booze and broads. As America's stuntman wags his tongue and shakes his fist at death for the sheer crazy money-making hell of it. Though Saltman certainly did not draw a flattering portrait of Knievel, various episodes on the tour were recounted, from the pistol shots in the hotel pool in Austin to the, as we remember that from an early episode, to the various incivilities toward Linda and Butte. Yeah, friends of Knievel, who later read the book, found nothing wrong. They're like, that sounds right.
Yeah, but the other part is he thinks he's doing damage to this man. What he's doing is making him a fucking rock star.
It's just more, yeah. Well, it goes against what he's saying he is, though.
Sure.
He doesn't want to be a hypocrite. He's saying he's Mr. Upstanding All-American, and he's, talking about just the shit he does.
Sammy Hagar claimed to be Mr. America, too, and he's pretty fucking rock star doing bad shit.
Yeah, now you can write a book about yourself doing bad shit, and people go, yeah, cool, rock and roll. But in 1977, it wasn't like that at all. So, they said there was nothing wrong with it. The character painted in the pages was the character they knew. Maybe Saltman could have been nicer in some descriptions, but this was Knievel. Yeah. Things that the daredevil said in the book were things his friends had heard him say for years. That was him. Knievel, though, didn't agree.
No?
Thought he was getting screwed over. Okay. He would later say the book was a filthy lie and pornography.
Oh, porn.
Which is a lie, because I tried to jerk it to it and it didn't work. So...
They gave it to those old men at the Jack Theater, and none of them came.
It didn't. Nobody came. They had all the audience in the world. It didn't work. He would claim the book insulted his mother, wife, and children, and portrayed him as an alcoholic, pill addict, and an anti-Semitic and an immoral person. He would make the book sound as if it was the worst thing ever written about anyone in the history of the written word. There was no record of how long it took him to reach this conclusion, how long it took him to read the book. There was a chance that he did not even read it, relying on other people to tell him how terrible it was. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Though he did give a copy of Evel Knievel on tour a few years later to a friend in Butte, and the friend found a number of underlines and notes in the margins that indicated Knievel had read the book with great interest.
Uh-huh.
Some pages were ripped out, too, the friend said. I have to think those were the ones that really got him mad. On the very first page of the book, the very first paragraph, Knievel found exception. This was a page that was an extension, really, of the front cover, a browser's inducement to buy the product in his hands. Other than the headline, X-Rated Evil, Saltman offered 3 paragraphs of quotes on the subject. Quote, I've made love to more beautiful women than all you guys put together even know, the first paragraph read. Hell, I never knew a broad who wasn't a pushover. I've got more broads than you ever saw. Penthouse knows it, Playboy knows it, now you know it. Even my wife knows it, and my grandmother knows it too. I don't bullshit anyone.
God damn, man.
The headline was underlined. Assorted words in the paragraph were underlined. The word constitutes adultery were printed in ballpoint pen at the top of the page. Underlines and comments continued through the book. This is a lie and not accurate was followed by lies, lies, which was followed by lies, lies, lies. A quote on 169, where Knievel complained to producers about appearing after Burt Reynolds on The Tonight Show, that fucking Burt Reynolds, why the hell should he go first, was underlined with the comment, quote, never said it to anyone. Even Saltman's final sentence in the book, which expressed joy at Knievel's survival at Snake River, quote, I fell into the arms of Evel Knievel's father and cried my eyes out. I was so glad to see that goddamn cantankerous son of a bitch alive and well, was found offensive. The phrase son of a bitch was underlined with the word insult put underneath it.
Yeah.
Dude, Knievel.
He's mad.
Good Lord, try putting out a podcast every fucking week. If you want to look for slights, Jesus Christ. Evel would have killed our listeners by now. Again, there was no record of how long these feelings were allowed to marinate after reading. There was no record of how much drinking took place, how much wild turkey was consumed during the marination process, and there was however, a record of Knievel's feelings at the time in his life about the First Amendment. He was not a big fan. George Hamilton had seen that when he first brought the movie script for Knievel to Evel's low-rent motel room and was forced to read at gunpoint. Joe Esterhaus had a glimpse of it when his unflattering Rolling Stone article was published, and he received phone calls that put the magazine's office on Evel Knievel alert. Automotive writer Joe Scalzo had also felt the heat. Scalzo, who wrote for an assorted publications and had written a number of autosports books, wrote a couple of paperbacks, Evel Knievel and Other Daredevils, in the run-up to the Canyon Jump. These were the first books written about Evel Knievel, pretty much the only books before Saltman's effort. They did not make Knievel happy. He called Scalzo to make his displeasure known. "You're a rip-off prick," he said to begin the conversation.
Okay.
The words came out in an angry hurry. Knievel said he would sue for all royalties from the books plus damages for using his name without permission. The bluster continued for an appropriate length of time, Scalzo unable to get in much of a rebuttal or even mention that the First Amendment existed before Knievel abruptly hung up. Scalzo never heard from him again. The legal threats did not bother the writer much because he knew the books were not defamatory in any way. No court could rule against him. The belligerence did not bother the writer either because he was in California and Knievel was calling from Butte, Montana. A punch in the nose could not travel that far. This was not the case, alas, with Shelley Saltman. He worked about 15 miles from the Sheraton Universal. Not a bad drive if you caught the LA traffic just right. Oh boy, this is bad. So, Saltzman was now at 20th Century Fox, where he was a vice president in the telecommunications department. He had taken the job because he was tired of the travel involved with sports promotions and ready for a different corporate kind of challenge. His department worked with the new concept of made-for-TV movies for HBO and other cable channels, and with another new concept, the sale of existing movies to companies that would put them on VHS and Betamax tapes. Rental. He's at the beginning of all this. The offices, not the officers, were on the 20th Century lot, famous for all the movies that had been filmed there. A touch of glamour, and Saltman was on his way to the famous studio commissary shortly after noon on September 21st, 1977. He was his enthusiastic self, tracking down a rumor that the commissary now had a frozen yogurt machine. He would see if that was true. Now, though, he spotted Evel Knievel coming toward him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He was not surprised. All kinds of famous people came to 20th Century Lot. He smiled. "Hey, Evel," he said. This was when someone grabbed him from behind, threw him to the ground, and held him there.
Oh?
What the hell? Saltman looked up and saw Knievel swinging a metal baseball bat at his head.
Oh, my God.
"I'm going to kill you, you son of a bitch," Knievel said, "for what you wrote about my mother."
What about his mother?
Called him I'm happy that son of a bitch is alive.
Son of a bitch. Yeah.
Yep. That was what Saltman heard. Just in time, the blow coming toward his head, he was able to free his arms and hold them in front of his face. The blow shattered his left arm and his right wrist. Or if it didn't, the subsequent blows did. "I'm going to kill you," Saltman heard. Whack. "I'm going to kill you." Whack. He just kept saying, "I'm going to kill you."
Really
while he
is going to try.
beat him with a metal baseball bat. Yep, in front of everybody, too. This is in the middle of the commissary at the fucking 20th Century Fox.
He's just going to get froyo.
Dude, he's not eating sprinkles today.
No.
Somewhere in the beating, Saltman passed out. What happened after that, he didn't know. Knievel obviously stopped swinging after a while. He and his accomplice walked away off the lot. No one stopped them. There were a number of witnesses, but nobody stepped in, Saltman later said. This was a movie lot. People are used to seeing all kinds of things happening around them. None of them thought it was real.
Holy shit.
No, this is like when the wrestlers get into fights at the hotels back in the day and be like, "No, you don't understand. We're doing a thing." And the cop's like, "Oh, my bad. I won't fuck it up." It's the same shit. So he said no one thought it was real. They thought it was another scene from another movie. When the executive on the ground of the pool on the ground in the pool of blood didn't get off the ground and head for a sandwich, people grew suspicious. What the hell? When he continued to lie there, his friend Alan Rice decided this was for real. He lifted Saltman onto a golf cart and took him to the medical office on the lot where an ambulance was called. The police were also called and told that Evel Knievel had beaten the bejesus out of a man right here at 20th Century Fox.
Damn near killed him.
I would say so. Saltman was taken to Los Angeles' new hospital. A warrant was put out for Knievel's arrest. Saltman didn't awaken until after surgery had been done on his left arm. The arm was in a large cast. He told reporters, "I don't know the provocation, but I assume it had something to do with the book." Alan Rice had called Saltman's wife, Molly, with the news. She thought the two men were playing a joke. "Tell the truth, Shelley was going to be late for dinner." That's what she was like, "Come on." Yeah. At sundown, Yom Kippur would begin, and he was supposed to be home for dinner with her entire family. Is he going to be late? Is that what you're telling me? In Las Vegas, Bob Arum already was at services at a synagogue. He was called to the rabbi's office for an important phone call. The phone call was from Shelley. Shelley says, "Watch yourself. Evel attacked me with a baseball bat, and now he may be coming after you." Arum said, "I wasn't too worried. Evel didn't even know what synagogue I went to." Uh-huh. Knievel was stopped by the police that night on Lankershim Boulevard on-ramp to the Hollywood freeway. He wasn't exactly trying to hide, driving around in the Stutz with a bodyguard. You can see him from fucking space. This is ridiculous. He was tailed by a car that contained his lawyer also. So follow me around. I know it's, if you want lawyers to, like, you know, type up papers and shit, it costs a certain amount an hour. What is it just to follow you around? Be on call. He explained that he was on his way to the West Los Angeles police station to surrender. The police redirected him to the North Hollywood station, then went to West Los Angeles, where he was booked. Stan Rosenfeld, a young publicist in Hollywood, had been hired recently to work with Knievel in various movie projects. The work really hadn't begun, so he didn't know much about Knievel. The start of his education was a phone call during the afternoon from Rona Barrett, the print and television gossip queen. "Do you have a statement about Evel Knievel?" she asked. He said, "A statement about Evel Knievel?" And the Rona Barrett said, "He just took a baseball bat to Shelley Saltman's arm." And Rosenfeld said, and then, as they say, hilarity ensued.
Oh, boy.
Okay. He and Knievel prepared a statement for reporters at the police station. Rosenfeld read Evel's words, "I stand by what I did." And his appraisal, he didn't say I didn't do it. He said, "I stand by beating that guy's ass." And the appraisal of the book is a filthy lie that called him an alcoholic, pill addict, anti-Semite, immoral person. Wow. This is fucking...
So he just says, "Yeah, I did it."
He said, "Yeah, that's right." He goes, "I did it and I'm proud of it." Mm-hmm. That's literally what he was like. "Yeah, that's right. Fucking, I did it."
So they arrest him on the
do
spot,
it again.
or what?
Oh, he's already arrested. He was a warrant out for his arrest.
Yeah.
So he said, "I stand by what I did, blah, blah, blah." The daredevil here is booked on suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon. He's released on $1,000 bail and told to appear next Wednesday for arraignment. So Knievel answered one question on the way out of the door. They said, "What are you going to do tonight?" And he said, "I'm going to go out and have a good time, like I do every night."
Okay.
So he's free, booked on the assault charge, and free. And Saltman said later on about the being held, he said, "I felt a hairy arm around my neck throwing me to the ground. Next thing I saw was Evel coming for me with a baseball bat. The other guy held me while Evel hit me."
Who the hell was it?
One of his bodyguards.
One of his friends.
Who knows?
God damn.
Yep. He said it was crazy. Saltman said, "We lived together for 3.5 months while he was getting ready for that jump. I felt I had a right to write a book about it."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What the fuck?" He said, "No one came to help because at a studio, someone might be shooting something. You don't want to fuck up the scene." So anyway, Knievel's brother is hurt now. Okay. Remember he's got a younger brother, Nick Knievel?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was practicing for a 112-foot jump from one ramp to another in a mini race car.
Yeah.
He was doing stunts too. Fractured 3 vertebrae in practice when he overshot the landing ramp. Jesus Christ.
Why does he want to do this too?
I have no fucking idea. Now, we've talked a lot about the boat and the yachts and all that, so we'll end with this story, and then we will pick up Evel in jail next week. And he has a jail experience like no other jail experience you've ever fucking heard. It's insane. There's limousines involved. It's wild. Okay, here's a story. I like how the book, when there's just something out of the timeline, they just say a story, and then they put this in here. After the attack and before he surrendered, Knievel made a call to Dee Robinson, his decorator, back in Fort Lauderdale. He told her that some problems had arisen, so plans for the new house with the 14 stained glass windows were going to have to be shut down for a few weeks. He was going to build a house, and he told her to order 14 stained glass windows, each depicting a different one of his jumps.
Like the Stations of the Cross?
And make a big window out of it like a church.
Holy shit.
How fucking crazy is that? So he said there's some problems, so let's take a little break on that. What kind of problems, she asked. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough." She found out the next morning. She was in a convenience store and noticed the front page of the newspaper. She couldn't believe the story. A baseball bat? An attack? A few days later, another unbelievable story emerged. Mike Anderson, the captain of the Evil Eye 1, told her that the owner of the boat wanted to meet her.
Oh?
Yeah. She said she knows the owner of the boat.
Yeah.
Evel Knievel. No, Anderson said. Evel only leased the boat.
Oh, the lying son of a bitch.
He doesn't even own it. The real owner had stepped forward and was taking back control. Payments had been missed. Evel had never been the owner, no matter what he said. So Robinson met with the real owner, who was not a happy man. He said she had ruined his boat. with all of her designs.
Yeah.
She apologized. She said she
in
thought
there doing work to this thing that he doesn't even know. It's like remodeling a rental home. You can't do that.
And she did. She fucked tore everything out, ripped everything up. I mean, it's crazy. So she apologized and said, I thought Evel owned the boat. I was just following the orders.
Yeah.
The real owner said he now had a set of different orders. He would hire her to make the boat look exactly the way it did before Evel did that. That is fucking amazing. Could you do that? She said, sure. So this has to be the greatest interior design job in history. Get paid a shitload of money to transform it and then be like, no, put it back, and I'll pay you even more. That is fucking amazing. She said the first job of her career was redecorating Evel's yacht. The second job was removing all the decorations she had done in her first job. She never worked for Evel again and didn't see him for like more than 10 years.
Really?
So long time. The famous Daredevil had hired Paul Caruso, a big-time Hollywood attorney, to represent him. Caruso had worked with a number of celebrity clients, including James Mason, Zsa Zsa Gabor, Jane Russell, Brenda Vaccaro, Kirk Douglas, there you go, Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. He successfully had defended actor and war hero Audie Murphy on a charge of attempted murder against a dog trainer who allegedly brutalized Murphy's dog and romanced his girlfriend. Yeah, you beat up my dog and fuck my girlfriend. I'm going to beat the shit out of you for that. Yeah.
We're fighting. Absolutely.
I will attempt to murder you. Yeah. The key to the defense was Caruso's contention that Murphy, credited with killing 282 German soldiers in a day to win the Congressional Medal of Honor, holy shit, couldn't have fired 4 times at the dog trainer and missed. He would have hit him.
That guy's a good shot.
And he's found not guilty because of that. If he wanted to hit him, he would have.
Smart move.
Knievel's defense for beating Saltman came straight out of Butte, Montana. Quote, I kicked his ass because he deserved it, which is not a legal defense.
No, it's not. It's not.
Nope.
You can hit them or hurt them if they did something bad to you, unless they're actively doing something bad to you. It's not self-defense.
And you're preventing more bodily harm. Yeah. That is not. That might work in the court of public opinion, but in court of law, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah, there's penalties for that.
So there's no debate about whether he had done the deed. Too many people watched him. A whole lunch shift watched him fucking do this. So they said none of that. The explanation he offered was that he was justified.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in Butte would see that, he said.
Okay.
A longtime friend, Louie, said it was the way we grew up. You could get away with a lot of things in Butte, but one thing you could never do was bring a family into something. As soon as you brought family in, it was a whole different story. I think that was because so many kids came from such bad family situations. They didn't have a father, they didn't have a mother. Bob didn't have either growing up, but he never talked about it, never talked about his mother, never once, never ever asked about her because they knew. No one ever asked about her because they knew. He wasn't educated, Bob. He dropped out of school. When the guy talked about his mother, I think that put him over the top. You didn't talk about family like that. No one talked about his family.
Nobody.
They called him a lucky son of a bitch. It's a figure of speech.
He's hung on the bitch part.
Yeah, I'm the son of a bitch, huh? How about that? So he said, I think, this is Jim Blankenship, another old friend, said, I think he thought he was going to be seen as a hero. A bunch of books had been written about celebrities, tough things. He was going to show that one celebrity wasn't going to take this. He was going to take matters into his own hands. Okay. The victim became the villain when Knievel took the case to the public. So whose side are you on? The famous Daredevil or the creep writer? Knievel was Buford Pusser, Walking Tall. He was Gary Cooper at High Noon, Dirty Harry, Gene Hackman in The French Connection. He was on the side of good and justice. He said, because of what I did in this manner, I will never lose the love and respect of my family and friends. I have personal convictions that must not be violated by anyone. Okay. Now, we'll do this and then we'll end it here. He brought this defiant attitude with him in the courtroom when he was arraigned October 12th, 1977. A 2-week delay had been granted to allow his attorney Caruso to familiarize himself with the case. Knievel said he wanted to plead guilty. He did what the policeman said he did. Saltman deserved it. End of case. Defendant would take his punishment. Caruso acts stunned at this development. What are you, stupid? You at least negotiate a plea. You don't. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I did it.
He said,
dole out the punishment.
Yeah, he said that he advised Evel to plead not guilty because there were ramifications in any civil trial that might follow, too.
Right.
Hey, stupid, don't admit to this in open court. He asked for a day to consult with his client. The judge, Frances Rothschild, granted the delay. She said that she had never come across such a situation in her West Los Angeles court of somebody just going, yeah, I plead guilty. Give me what you got. Like that just doesn't fucking happen in court because,
Because you're dealing with self-preservation and trying to get the lightest punishment possible, even if you're content and contrite.
Yeah, still, it's crazy. So they were like, this is weird. The next day, Caruso announced to the court that he was resigning as Knievel's attorney.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Knievel announced to the court that he pleaded guilty, he pleads guilty, but acted because Sheldon Saltman had written a vicious book of pornography about him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow, a vicious book of pornography. That is
certainly something.
That's something, I guess. He said he had broken Saltman's arms because you write a book with your hands.
Oh, sending a mob message to the guy.
Holy shit. Judge Rothschild scheduled the sentencing for a month later. Saltman, still in the hospital, was amazed at all of this. Knievel's strategy seemed to work. That's the way it seemed reading the newspapers. His side of the story was everywhere. Saltman's was nowhere. There was things he'd like to point out, too, but no one seemed to ask. Like, first of all, the slander about Knievel's mother. The only mention of Knievel's mother in the entire book was, quote, Evel wouldn't stay in Denver because his real mother lived there and he didn't want to see her. Quote, my mother's never taken care of me, he said. I'm taking care of the woman that raised me, my grandmother, and that's all there is to it. You dig? That was the righteous cause for a beating? That shit that he told everybody?
Saying his mom's worthless and that
That's what Evel told everybody.
Yeah, right.
And that was like his thing of why he's cool, too. Like, yeah, my mother didn't even want me. My grandparents the only thing. A second thing, Knievel didn't attack Saltman's arms. He, the victim, put his arms up in self-defense. If Knievel if his planned path with the baseball bat had been unimpeded, the bat would have landed directly on his head. This was attempted murder, nothing less. Why wasn't it being prosecuted as attempted murder?
Right.
And he said a third thing, the accomplice. Yeah. Why was nobody trying to find the accomplice? Knievel mumbled something about not knowing the guy and something else about never saying the guy's name. Nobody seemed to care about the accomplice. Nobody seemed to care about the seriousness of the crime.
Right.
So there we go. We're going to leave off with that because
he's just an unhinged, reckless son of a bitch at the moment.
Fucking psychopath of all psychopaths. He's out of his fucking mind. He's going to be going to jail, obviously, and his jail experience, like I said, is like no other you've ever heard of.
Sure.
So it's going to be a lot of crazy fun. We'll get into all of that next week. But first, before we do that, we definitely want to say thank you for listening, number one. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you hope you enjoyed the Scummies last week as well. Hope you dressed nice and formal for it. This is a formal event.
Yep.
You put your tuxedo on like the guy blowing himself up. That's how you do it. So you do that, and I hope you get on whatever app you're listening on and give us 5 stars. It really helps a lot. There's a way to rate and review on all of them, and it takes like 5 seconds. So just do it. It really helps the show out a lot. Also, tell your friends, post on social media, do all that good shit. Follow us on social media at Crime and Sports. You can also certainly head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Get your tickets for live shows. Get merch here as well. Live shows May 18th in Chicago at the Riviera. The show the night before in St. Louis is sold out. So Midwest, that's your spot. April 19th, virtual live show is a small town murder virtual live show, but those are crazy. All the pictures like a regular live show, just like a regular live show, except you're anywhere you want to be in the world with internet. It takes place April 19th, and it will be available for 2 weeks after that to purchase, to watch 100 times, whatever. Watch how stoned I get, Jimmie. It's going to be hilarious. So check all that out and more at shutupandgivememurder.com. You also want Patreon. Patreon.com/crimeinsports is where you get all of the bonus material. Anybody $5 a month or above, you're going to get a whole shitload of bonus episodes, hundreds and hundreds of bonus episodes immediately upon subscription, and then new ones every other week. One Crime and Sports, one Small Town Murder, and you, goddammit, get them all. This week, for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about college hazing, fraternity hazing incidents, which is pretty sporty. I feel like half those guys play lacrosse or some shit, right?
It's very gross.
It's very gross and very sporty. The Duke lacrosse team had something like it, sort of. So, it matches up. It's sporty. It's going to be funny and crazy, I'll tell you that much. And then for Small Town Murder, we are going to talk about the case of Karen Reed, which is coming up for retrial. She is the woman in Boston accused of killing her police officer boyfriend and the pieces of taillight everywhere. And she says that the cops all killed him themselves and let their dog bite him. And there's text messages that call her horrible names that are pretty fucking funny. The whole thing is crazy. We'll talk about, we'll get you set for this trial, basically, and tell you a wild fucking story. We can't wait. So can't wait for that. Tune in for that. That's patreon.com/crime and sports. And you get a shout out. Jimmie, hit me with the names of the people who would never, ever have us pinned down and beaten with baseball bats for simply mentioning that their mother existed. Jimmie, hit me with them right fucking now.
This week's executive producers are Elena Zemmel's son, Noah. Happy birthday, bud. I don't know
hey,
how
happy
old
birthday.
It's his birthday. He might be
to
20.
You.
I don't know.
Well, happy fucking birthday. You called him Bud like he was 8.
Raptor 1, happy birthday. Raptor
birthday,
2 said so. Raptor 1 and 2. Gary Howard and Jordan Brockwell. Thank you all so much for what you're doing. You're fucking great people.
You're superstars.
Can't do this without
Thank
you. You're amazing. Other producers this week are Michelle Centeno and her wolf pack at Centeno Farms in Centeno Kennels in Canada. Peyton Meadows,
Puppies.
Elizabeth Rockefeller. We got Rockefeller money. Janice Hill, Tiffany.
Give more.
Tiffany Townsend, Robert Baker, Your Highness, Justin Daggett, Travis Freeman, Shell Sinclair, Rosie with no last name, Devin Hughes, or maybe it's Devon. Never mind. I was going to mention something else, but it doesn't matter because it's not spelled the same. Brandon M., Tyler Blevins, Vince Oswald, Corin Janilka. Sierra Cash, Sophia Hernandez-Ortiz, Derek Patterson, Madison Benson, Jeremy Brent Killimas, Ramon Wootrich, Sierra Payne, Heidi with no last name, Matt and Tiffany Laws, Ian Harrington, Jeff with no last name, Michael Bamfer, 1987. Maybe it's bad motherfucker. Bad
motherfucker.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
All right.
Connor Brown, Jen Veenstra, Lindsay Nadolski, Amy Ice, Rusty Ingerson, Heather Annis, OG Bump Sniff. Okay. Shauna
Bump Sniff.
Cummings, I think. Sienna, maybe? I think it's
Bump
Shauna.
Sniff is putting your cards and your Coke right on the table, isn't it?
Really
That's telling you a lot.
Letting you know what they do. Kajel, Kell Anderson, Faye McCulkey, McCully, Bryn Kaufer, Rachel Ruthless. That might be a typo.
Cool. Is that a roller derby name?
What is it?
Is that a roller derby name?
It is, probably. Kaylin Spicher, maybe another roller derby chick. Darcy Lenhart. Todd with no last name. Tabitha Martin, Ashlyn Smith.
Hey, there we go.
Ashlyn Smith. Terry Bruyere.
Delicious.
Yeah, that's her last name. Is that it?
Cool.
Isn't that a type of cheese? That's how it's spelled.
Oh, yeah. Bruyere is absolutely a cheese.
That's it. Christine Harnett.
I don't know if I've ever had it.
Carter Rowe, Amanda Claybo, Nick Cameron. That Nick Cameron. Is there an actor or somebody famous named Nick Cameron? I don't know. It's possible.
I don't know.
But he says
Maybe.
it's that guy. April with no last name. Carrie O'Brien, Riley
Shout
Foster.
out to that guy.
Courtney Jones. Skip with no last name. Probably not that one.
Not
Anamia Rumley. Oh, all right. Like Anne Marie, but somebody named somebody Anamia? That's crazy.
Anamia. I guess it's people are named Mia and people are named Anna.
Right. That's a fascinating two together. Megan Boone, the nature girl, James. One.
Ric Flair's
There's only
daughter.
one. John with no last name. Bernie with no last name. Vaughn Holding. Jessica Armstrong. Jeanette Seeley. James Scheidel. Manchester United and Pints. They drink that shit and watch that shit. Sue Dematia. Sandra Usery. Allison Michaela Snana. What? That's not her name. Joan Marie. Oh, boy. Ernie. I don't know. Daniel Barnes. Biff Deadlift. KK's Blogs. Corey Strong. S. Wolverine. What is this one? Mary Wilson. Very easy. Cody Latvala. Kerry Dixon, Tim Bomer.
So you had Dixon and Boner back to back?
Kerry Dixon and Tim Boner, right back to back. All right. Eldon
Kerry
Von
Dixon,
Pizza.
Tim Boner.
Justin with no last name. Cake with no last name. Virginia Gibbons. Hold me tighter, James. Southern Girl. Tyler Foster. Squishy Cthulhu. What are those things? Kumquat McGillicuddy. That's not a name.
Oh,
Becca with no last name. Mike O'Neill. Carly Punt. Punt, maybe. Brandon Johnson. Lisa Dominic. Jen with no last name. David D. Christina with no last name. Big Ein T85. I don't know what that is. Casey Pearson. Bibler or Bibler. Moss with no last name. Cindy Wolf. Morgan Greaves. Monica Schulte. Steel Toe Joe. T. Remy. CJ Frisch. Anita Lindsay. Johnny Bravo. Probably not. Kate Hybert. Tierra Admister. Cassandra Tabor maybe. Molly Themu. Temu. Jack Mason. Josie Smith. Elizabeth Stanton. Yep. Drew Corcoran. Bill Onomata Poopy Pants. Kylie
nice.
Trick. Britt with no last name. Laura Robinson.
Literary
Suck Madik,
device.
James. Suk Madik. That's a person.
Very
I'm sure
nice.
of
It's
it. Blake
we have a lot of Korean listeners, so that would make sense.
Dwight Shaw, Nicholas Wrigley, Regal, Matt with no last name, Tara Helenthal, Joelle Rose, Brandy Davis, Monica Trevino, Jacqueline Lemensky, Katie Wood, Kendra Lemon, Shannon Hoffmeyer, Kylie Vogelsang, and all of our patrons. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody, so much from the bottom of our hearts. We really, really appreciate all that you do for us. And keep hanging around for more good stuff on both Patreon and the regular episodes. If you want to follow us on social media, very easy to do that. ShutUpAndGiveMeMurder.com has drop-down menus. It'll take you anywhere you want to go. That has to do with us anyway. Right. So keep doing that. Keep coming back and seeing us. And live from the Crime and Sports Studios, we will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Are you captivated by the dark and mysterious world of true crime? Wondery Plus offers you the ultimate true crime experience with early access to new episodes, exclusive content, and a seamless ad-free listening journey. With Wondery Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of podcasts, including more than 50 true crime series like Dr. Death, the shocking true story of a trusted surgeon who brought unimaginable pain and suffering to his patients.
This was not an operation that was performed. This was attempted murder.
And there's Morbid, the hit podcast that's a lighthearted nightmare. With Wondery Plus, you get access to exclusive bonus content too, allowing you to dive deeper into the cases you love, like in Suspect, where an ordinary Halloween party turned into a terrifying murder mystery that left its mark on the community.
This case is one of those roller coaster rides where it's like, no, he did it for sure. No, for sure he did it.
Each story is crafted to keep you enthralled, revealing the complexities and motivations behind every crime. Subscribe to Wondery Plus on the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify today. Unlock the door to a world of true crime like never before. With Wondery Plus, the best true crime stories are always at your fingertips.